All right, everybody, welcome. And we are live. I apologize for the later than expected start. Um, but we are live here today with our inaugural episode of the Justice Watch Live. So I saw a few of you check in. I wasn't live yet. I was getting things ready to go. There were some technical difficulties earlier when I was wanting to go live at 11. Couldn't get the stream to work, anyways. But we are live now. So the premise here, obviously, we watch, this channel. I watch trials. We're watching the Hannah Gutierrez case. This is going to give us a chance. I've got the main event tonight is going to be watching some body cam footage out of a very interesting case down in Tennessee. We're watching a little bit of the preliminary hearing, but this is going to be an opportunity for us to talk, watch. So feel free to interact, comment, ask questions, whatnot. That's what this is all about. It's meant to be less formal than when we're watching trials and we're watching, doing presentations and stuff like that on other stuff. So, if you've got something you want to cover, you've got questions, we can stop for a minute and talk about it. So just let me know in the comments. I'll be trying to monitor the comments the best I can while we're watching stuff. So that we can interact. So, but the first, like I said, the case we're going to be checking out here, the first thing we're going to watch, and there'll be some other things I'm going to bring in as well from the week, that we'll go back and watch together. But the first case that we're going to look at, as I said, kind of the main event, the purpose of what we're watching tonight is going to be a police body cam footage, and this is the from down in Tennessee. This what you're going to see here it is graphic. I will warn you, and I found it courtesy of 10. I guess News 10 down out of Tennessee. But the situation is you are going to see a situation where a police officer was shot in this body cam footage. It's really crazy. But you're also going to be seeing the defendant in this case went on the run for, I think, about 10 days. And currently his intent is to claim self-defense. So that's why I want to watch it, because this is something that I think is going to be an interesting case if he pursues trial in this case. There's a couple of troubling things here. I've obviously already watched the body cam footage and seen it for myself, but the situation, as I said, it's some disturbing footage. So if that bothers you, I'll warn you when the disturbing moments are coming. So let's see here. Let me get it queued up before we jump into the film room here. Give me a moment. Yeah, the name of the defendant, or the individual did the shooting here, his name is Kenneth Dehart. And apparently, from my research, this guy was somewhat of a notorious bad guy around town. He was a wife charged with domestic battery, various domestic assaults, allegedly a drug dealer. These are all things that, of course, coming from Reddit and Facebook posts and stuff like that. Those are great places to go and try to get to know somebody a little bit. Just what's generally out there, rumors and stuff like that. So let's take that with a grain of salt. But the idea here is this gentleman is somebody who kind of has a temper and doesn't cooperate very well. So give me a moment here. All right, so let's jump into the film room here. So there is a little warning: graphic content, viewer discretion advised. I've warned you. YouTube may throw age appropriate deal on this after they review it. But like I said, this is something that we need to watch, that needs to be watched, and I think it's something that's worthwhile discussing. As far as who do we think's in the wrong here? Were the police in the wrong here? Is this gentleman in the wrong here for what he did? It's about 28 minutes long. It's some harrowing stuff, and it's just crazy to me that this gentleman essentially has thrown his life away potentially here. I mean, because this one police officer died, another police officer got shot, and we're like I said, let's get into it and start watching. So it says this video was released on February 16th, 8 days after the shooting. So this happened back on February 8th. And they did a pretty good job as well, you're going to see, of putting this together. They also released another separate video where the police officers investigating this sat down with the press and described what you were seeing. So here it is. All right, so there should be sound hopefully coming here. I believe it'll kick in once she gets to the scene. Right now, this is just the, I guess, interior of the car. So she's pulling over. And you can see, pay attention here. One of the things you want to pay attention is the probable cause for the stop. So you're going to see, look at him. This is a 2-lane highway, and he's way over in this lane. So I think we can establish she's got probable cause. Because basically the sound came on when she sounds her, I believe, turns on her, or realized she was going to initiate a stop. And you can see, yep, over again. So plenty of probable cause here for this stop from that perspective.
Go ahead. 639 Bravo Lima Bravo Yankee. It's displayed on the silver Lexus. Severe rear end. I'll get you across in just a second.
No question that she had a right to pull him over. There you can see she sounded her light, or showing her lights, and he pulls over in the middle of the road. Watch this. This is just once again just showing this guy something's not right with this guy. So in my opinion, definitely plenty of reason to pull him over. And watch where he pulls over at.
We're in the middle of the road at 4961 Sevierville. Hello. Sorry, I'm all right. Can we pull up into this driveway right here? All right, I'll see you up there. Hold on just a second. I'll talk to you. We're pulling out of the roadway. Never mind, we're still on the roadway. Do me a favor, brother. Pull into the driveway. That way we're all the way out of the road. Okay? $335. We pulled into 4959. Now that we're out of the way there.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
That's all right. My name's Shelby. I work for the Blount County Sheriff's Office. I stopped you not because you were all over the road.
I'm sorry. I didn't notice it. I just put my hair up.
Putting your hair up?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had anything to drink or anything?
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
No. I'm really just leaving. No, I'm just leaving Suburban.
Okay.
Just got back from Gatlinburg Pittman.
Cool.
Just got a phone with my son. I said, son, you should have came home because he hurt his knee right back, the GP game. And I literally just got the phone with him.
Okay. Did you go to the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
We literally just got done.
Okay.
They're still there. I literally can show you. I just got the phone with my son.
I believe you.
And,
Where are you headed to tonight?
I'm on my way home.
Where you live at?
Alcoa.
Alcoa?
Yes,
okay. Go for it. You care to see your driver's license, registration, proof, insurance, please? All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't think I was swerving.
Yeah, well, you went across the line just a little bit, and I thought, well, maybe
I would just put my hair up. I'm sorry, I got hot. I just put my hair up.
I got you. Yeah, you were like you were all the way completely in the other lane.
I called my mama and say, "Mama, I'm not gonna make it tonight. I gotta go get clothes. Like I'm just dealing with a lot. I promise I didn't do nothing. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry you're going through some stuff.
Oh, it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I literally just got the phone with my son. Just talked to the guy that's painting. Sent me a picture of some lights that he sent me.
And you can see
that I'm literally just
never a good sign
just got the phone with him.
Okay, good
people
deal.
are talking as much as he is.
He just sent me this.
I got you.
And I called him back, but I'm on Bluetooth.
Okay, you're good. Do you have your registration insurance?
Yeah, I'm in my mama's car. I'm in her car. My truck is at her house. I'll show you what I just done so you can know what I'm doing. I ain't lying. I just left to take a video.
Yeah, I'm coming forward. Come on. I got you.
Just took a video of everything.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
This is in Suburban. I literally just jumped in her car. Showed her a video of her house. We just got done getting it painted.
Yeah,
I literally just left. I just want to go to bed.
Okay.
Is this it?
Close enough for registration. What about your insurance?
Try to call her real quick.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you call her. I'm gonna go check this out, and I'll come back up here and talk to you about the insurance when you figure it out. Okay.
Thank
you. So far, he's acting very suspicious. Obviously, you're gonna, one of the things you never want to do, number one, when you get pulled over like that, is start offering up unnecessary information. And he kind of contradicts himself as he goes throughout this. But as far as what he was doing, he says he's at his son's ball game, then he's at his mamaw's house, and he's picking up stuff. But I mean, this guy should have just stayed quiet. Sorry, officer, I was putting my hair up. I mean, all the other stuff is unneeded. I mean, you can tell. The thing that I think a lot of people get confused about is they get confused about, and this is what my dad always has said to me, like when you encounter a police officer on the side of the road, that's not where, assert your rights. You can assert yourself. You can say, well, officer, this is my issue, especially now that they have body worn camera. You can even record them and record yourself saying this is wrong or this is incorrect. But if the officer says we're proceeding in this way, at that point, the best thing to do is, as hard as it is, if they're going to arrest you, let them arrest you, because unfortunately there is no judge. The judge is who enforces these things or ultimately makes a ruling down the road that the officer was wrong. The officer is not going to tell you that you're right. It's just never going to happen. I mean, you can assert, hey, I don't think you should do this, or I'm not giving you permission. I'm clearly letting you know I'm not giving you permission to search my car. And if the officer proceeds to search your car, that's an issue now for court. If there's evidence found in your car, well, then the judge down the road may suppress that evidence, if that's the only evidence they have for arresting you. But this gentleman here, makes the mistake that many people have made in these situations and circumstances. He starts trying to tell the officer, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, as if this officer is supposed to just stop and listen to him. Unfortunately, you need to listen to them to a degree. I mean, obviously, now if they're getting violent or something like that, you can obviously defend yourself the best as you can. But in this case, you're going to see how this accelerates. He really does not help himself in this situation at all, with how it ends up proceeding. But let's watch.
Hey, so car smells like weed, and he was in the opposite lane on Seville Road. Pretty sure I got a DUI, but I think it's weed. I don't think it's alcohol. So.
Okie dokie. How far from Seville Road are you?
4951. I'm right here next to Destiny Lane.
Destiny, a little bit better. Are you this side of 13 curves or that side?
What side are you on?
I'm
The town side?
I'm on the hospital.
I'm up here past Alfred McCammon and Doc Norton towards out of town, towards Burn
That's
Station.
unfortunately the officer who ends up
If you pass Alfred,
coming
come
to
on
the
past
scene
Alfred McCammon, you'll see my lights.
and gets
Okay, I'm on my way.
killed.
All right, thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's really tragic to hear that.
335.
335.
I had a medical call. Will you check Knox and Severe, please?
10-4.
Hey, did you figure that paperwork out, brother?
Yeah, she said it's paid. Here, she's on the phone.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, tell her, Mama.
You got the card there?
I got a bunch of them,
A
but
bunch of them?
they're all formers.
Okay, I got you.
You said, go ahead, Mama. She's right here.
Hey,
Hey.
hey, my name's Shelby. I work for the Blount County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, this is Geraldine Tragle.
Nice to hear you. I'd say nice to meet you, but we're not next to each other.
Okay. You know Doris Field? Niles?
She said she works for Blount County, Mama, not Seville County.
Yeah, I don't think I do, man.
Oh,
She
that's
works.
right.
She works at
I mean, that's what
Okay.
makes this all the
I got
more
you.
perplexing of what he
I
does.
understand. We're
in a
all
few
right here
minutes.
next to each other. I get it.
I mean,
But I got them all. They're all just.
But yeah,
got
just old
different
ones.
dates.
Okay. Well, I'll just look through them and see if any of them are valid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave this half with you. I'll take this half.
I just forgot, I guess, to put my card, the paper they give us to put in there.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand. It happens.
But long as you run their tags, stuff it should show up, right?
It doesn't come back with the tag. A lot of times it will come back with the tag. It didn't come back with the tag. That's the only reason I'm asking you for it.
it just makes no sense, really.
There's that half. There's your old ones.
What'd you say, Mama?
What didn't come back?
The insurance, it's okay. I don't know. I just put my hair up, and she said I swear, so I'm sorry.
Here you go. Let's see this one. See what we can figure out.
And one of the contentions here, that I read that the I guess an individual that's defending him put out is you hear her referencing earlier, and you're about to hear this exchange go off the rails. She says she smells weed. Now, they're saying, and some people have said that is a common deal that the police want to use to search a vehicle or get someone out. In this case, you have to ask yourself, I don't believe we have that in this case here from what we've heard. So far, she's been very respectful. He was swerving. He said he claimed he was putting his hair up. He seems to be talking very much like he's out of it. He's telling an inconsistent story. I mean, we have all the hallmarks here of her being well within the bounds to say, I'd like you to get out of the car, sir, and perform some field sobriety tests so we can assess whether or not you're under the influence of something. Now, watch how quickly, and I want you to watch, because in a minute here, she's about to turn this in. She's about to turn the corner here, because at this point, she's led him to believe that they're just trying to work out his insurance, and he's telling her he wants to go home and he wants to get out of here. Now, watch how this turns. And again, he's claiming, and he's going to be allegedly putting on a defense, alleging that everything you're about to see transpire was in self-defense. So I will warn you, in the next like 4 minutes. It's going to be graphic. So we're going to watch it regardless. YouTube's not going to probably like this video. They're going to age appropriate, but we're going to watch it. That's no problem for me putting it up, but we're going to watch this. But I want to warn you, just in case you don't want to see graphic things, you may want to take a break for a minute and come back. But let's start rolling it.
She said, "You probably tired." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm tired, but running for her and these dang kids."
Yeah. How many kids you got, brother?
5.
5?
Yeah.
That's too many.
And I just left my 15-year-old game, and he wanted to stay and watch the varsity.
Yeah.
And he has therapy in the morning. I just
Okay.
had surgery on my knee.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's not good.
I just literally just called my mom to tell her that
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to bring her clothes tonight. I'll bring them in the morning.
I got you.
I don't know. I guess I can just hand her all this stuff.
That's okay. I'm not too worried about it. I got you. You got like 15 insurance cards.
Yeah, I'm
so you're good.
perfectly fine though. I'm literally just going home. I'm
Okay.
about to go home and take a shower and lay down. I'm not doing nothing wrong.
I got you. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I am gonna have you step out and hang out with me.
Step out for what?
So I smell weed in the car. Have you ever smoked weed in this car?
I don't smoke or nothing.
Okay, you don't smoke or nothing?
No.
Has anybody ever smoked in the car?
Nobody. This is
Okay.
my grandma's car.
Okay.
That's
I got
just
you.
bogus, man.
Okay.
Man.
Well, I smell it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you step out and hang out with me. Okay? My partner's going to get here. We'll search as long as everything's good. I'll get you home.
There ain't no weed in here. Nobody
Okay.
smokes weed. Don't do me like that now.
Okay. Don't do you like what?
Why'd you have to stay out?
She trying to say she smells weed. And I'm like, you know I don't smoke weed. No, nobody I know smoke weed.
Okay. I didn't accuse you of smoking weed.
I just got my kids' backpacks and food. We literally just went to...
Okay.
Weed smoked in that car.
Exactly. It's been a leather.
Okay.
It's never been smoked in
Like
cigarettes.
it's me, man. My own black, and they just being messy.
It ain't got nothing
It
to do with that, brother.
I guarantee you run a dog right here. One of the dogs get on this car.
Okay.
So I'm gonna sit right here. And
Our
I'm gonna
dogs
let you run the dog
Our
on
dogs
this
don't
car.
hit on weed, and there's not a dog coming out here. It's me and my partner.
Well, I'm not. I'm refusing to search.
No, there's no refusing. So when
I'm
I smell
refusing to
so when I
search,
smell
man.
when I smell the odor of marijuana, I have probable cause to search the vehicle.
I need you to get a
So
dog, ma'am. I'm refusing to search.
There's no refusing.
There's no weed. Go get your partner and tell him to come over and sniff.
Okay, my
That's it.
partner is not a dog. My partner's a person
Okay,
that's
let
on the
your
way.
partner come sniff. I'm
Okay,
refusing to search.
that's fine. You can't refuse a search
Why can't I refuse to search?
because I've got probable cause to search the vehicle
There's no
because of the
probable
smell.
cause. Now, why
Okay,
they trying to be messy for no reason?
And this is what I was talking about earlier. The issue he has right now is he's asserted himself. He doesn't believe she has a right to search, but you can't physically stop a search from happening in this case. What you have to do is you have to get out of the car. You have to comply. Otherwise, you're going to end up, having the problems he had where they're tasing him in his car. And that starts this whole series of events that leads to some terrible things. But the bottom line is, hey, he doesn't believe she has probable cause. That's something that a judge will have to determine. He will unfortunately have to go to court over this, and he would have an attorney that would come in and cross-examine her as to what, as to whether or not it was a legitimate smell of weed, and whether or not she was obligated to have a dog, whether or not the dog said. Those are all things he has no idea about. And unfortunately, you can't litigate that on the side of the road. You gotta, he's doing the right thing in saying, I'm not consenting. And she's saying, I don't need your consent. And as a result, then you don't just have a right to just say, okay, no, that's an issue that will be settled in court on another day at another time, but not right now. And that's the issue for him right now that's about to play out, where I assume his attorneys at a future date will be litigating that fact, and they're going to say basically that if there wasn't a legitimate reason for what is about to happen. So this is going to be kind of the nuance of the situation, where if the police don't have probable cause, then everything that happens after that was unlawful, and therefore it could fall under the range of self-defense. But the problem is they did have a right to ask him to get out of the car. They have a right to search the car. They have a right, if they believe they have the probable cause in this instance, and he's obstructing. And there's a case law that says you are required to get out of your car fast. And if a police officer believes there's probable cause, and if there's a traffic stop, you've got to comply. And they have every right to remove you from the vehicle. So, but as far as when a defense attorney gets this in front of 12 people and says they were unlawfully trying to go forward with this stop and they actually didn't have probable cause, it could be an assertable defense. But I believe, she doesn't seem like I think she had enough evidence based on what we can see here, based on his actions, behaviors, the way he's driving the vehicle. If she was smelling weed, I know Mamaw was saying there's no weed being smoked in that car, but if he's borrowing her car, taking a few smokes, Mamaw ain't going to know, right? Mamaw says, I ain't never smoked in the car. So like I said, I'm going to warn you, as you can imagine, it's about to get off the rails right now. In about the next 2 minutes. So let's plow forward with this.
I'm not trying to be messy with you, brother. I'm trying to make this easy, okay?
I'm just refusing to search. I love you, Mamaw.
Listen,
Yes, ma'am.
what's going on?
I don't know why they're doing this, ma'am. I'm just trying to go home. I literally just left your house. I literally just took a video so I could show you everything that everybody did with the paint and everything in the toilets, and they just pulled me over for no reason. They seen my fucking hair put up. I'm black with dreads, and they pulling this mess for no reason.
It ain't got nothing to do with that, brother. I couldn't see when I pulled you over.
Nobody smokes weed. I don't smoke weed.
Okay,
I've never been around weed.
Okay.
I
didn't say you did. I didn't say that you smoked weed. I said it smelled.
Now, keep in mind, we could see what she saw, and I don't think you could see dreads or anything like that. From what I saw at the beginning of this video, let me know in the chat if you were here when the beginning of this video played. Did you see any discernible features that would have made her believe it was, as he described, a black man with dreads that she was pulling over for no reason at all? What I saw was, unfortunately for him, certainly probable cause to be pulled over. He crossed the center line drastically twice. Anyways, let me know what you think.
Smells like weed in here.
Well,
I didn't say you did it.
Dog. I love you,
okay.
Mamaw.
Go ahead and step out for me, Kenny.
I'm not stepping out. I'm refusing to search.
Okay, you're refusing to step out of the vehicle?
I'm refusing to search, man.
Okay, so step out of the vehicle. Step out of the vehicle.
Oh,
Come back here and stand with me.
I'm not.
335. I got one refusing to get out of the car.
I need
Just
you to get
step
a dog.
out.
Just get a dog.
I don't have a dog. I don't have a dog
Please
to get.
Get a dog,
okay?
Man.
And if I had a dog, it doesn't hit on weed. I'm telling you.
I don't smoke weed,
okay, I didn't say you did, brother.
Okay, you're not.
I said it smells like weed in your car. I have probable cause to search your car.
Not.
Kenny, step out for me.
I'm not.
Step out for me,
Bullshit.
Kenny.
No, I'm not. Baby, the police got me pulled over. They threatened me to get out the car. I'm not getting out the car.
She ends up
just get out the car, man. I'm not trying to make this difficult.
You are making
I think
it
this
difficult.
could have
I'm not
been
making it
handled
difficult.
differently.
I'm not
and
being
ended
racist.
differently.
I'm asking you. I don't have a dog, sir.
Tell these folks I don't smoke weed.
You don't smoke weed.
Okay, I didn't say you smoked weed.
I don't smoke weed.
I never, Kenny, I never
weed.
accused you of smoking
no, you
weed.
Are. You saying I got to get out this car? I'm not. I'm refusing it.
Yeah, I am saying you have to get out of the car.
I'm refusing it.
You can't refuse to search. I have probable cause to search the vehicle.
You gotta have a dog. You can't just say you smell weed.
Yeah, that's how the law works, Kenny.
No, it don't.
That's how the law works, brother.
Where are you?
I'm down here on Seville Road, baby. Like, this is not right, man. I'm literally not doing nothing wrong. I'm literally on my way.
You were on the wrong side of the road, brother.
Home, baby.
You're on the wrong side of the road. That's why I stopped
literally,
you.
I ain't doing nothing wrong.
Kenny, man, I just need you to get out of the car, brother.
I'm not getting out. I'm not getting out the car.
All you have to do is step out and see me. I don't have a dog to get, brother.
You could have just gave me a ticket and said, get on. I don't smoke weed.
I don't have a dog to get here, okay? I don't have a dog to search your car. Well, I do not have a dog. I can't help you.
Now, I want you to watch, to me, one of the things that I think is not, in my opinion, the favor of the police. And this is something you tend to see on traffic stops, and I do not understand it. But you're going to see Deputy McCowan, who you heard on the phone call, seemed to be a very nice gentleman, but he just comes running over hot in this situation. Comes running over, and I don't know why officers have to do that. Because to me, like, this is a situation where even though he's refusing, there's still an ability to finesse this and work with him and try to figure out, look, how can we get this worked out without having to bring this to the physical right away. But you're going to see she's trying to still talk with him. And then when this guy arrives on the scene, within about the next 30 seconds, it just, let's watch.
There. I'd like to have a dog.
Baby,
I don't have a dog.
Come down here, baby. I'm on Seville Road, baby. Just come down Seville Road like 10 minutes.
I just need you to step out of the car, Kenny.
I'm refusing to search, man.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen if you don't step out of the car. We're going to have to drag you out of the car, and then you're going to go to jail.
I don't smoke marijuana.
So you can either step out of the car, or I can pull you out of the car.
You can step out the car.
No, sir.
You can step out the car, or I'm pulling you out of the car, Kenny.
It's racist. I don't care what goes on.
She asked you. She asked you to get out of the car.
Get out of the car, brother.
Y'all said it smell like weed. I need you to get a dog, please.
No, we don't have to have a dog when it smells like weed, brother. Get out of the car.
Marijuana in this car.
I'm gonna tell you one more time, Kenny. Get out of the car.
I can't, man.
You
I'm
can't?
recording this.
Okay,
I'm
you can
telling
record
you
it
right now.
That's fine. I'm recording too. I've recorded this whole interaction. Go ahead and get out of the car.
I'm not doing nothing wrong.
You were on the wrong side of the road, Kenny.
I was not on the wrong side of the road.
You were driving on the wrong side of the road, brother. Get out of the car.
Side of the road.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
I'm not. No, don't touch my car.
Get out of the car.
No, you can't do that.
Get out of the car.
Do that. You can't do this, man. You can't do this. Get your hands off of me, man. Please.
Now.
Please get your hands off of me, please. Please.
Get out of the car.
I'm asking
Get out
you
of
to
the car.
please stop.
Get out of the car now.
I'm not doing nothing wrong.
Hey, get out of the car.
Now.
Please, I'm not doing nothing wrong.
Get out of the car.
Please, can I answer my call?
No, get out of the car.
Now.
Out of the car.
I'm not doing nothing wrong.
Get out of the
Why
car.
are y'all doing this to me, man? Why are you doing this to me?
Get out of the car.
So I'm going to warn you right now, if you're not liking graphic things, the next about 30 seconds is where everything happens. But at this moment right here, you have to wonder, I understand he wasn't getting out of the car, but he wasn't necessarily aggressively doing anything. He wasn't brandishing a weapon. I mean, what's about to happen, which is they deploy the taser, and then they end up tasing the girl. I mean, it's a mess. But the point is, wasn't really necessary to have taken it to this level. And when the male police officer gets on the scene, he takes it. You see, she's still over there trying to talk to him, and he just takes it to 100. He takes it from 0 to 100, and I really have a problem with that. But yes, the driver should get out of the car. Absolutely, yes. I agree with you, and 100% he should. But the thing is, what I'm trying to say here is the police officers, they accelerate the situation. And I'm not saying what he did here was warranted or should have happened, because what he does here is absolutely extreme and stupid, and he's just ruined his life. In my opinion, I think he'll end up, I think this was a very dumb decision to have done this. But, it's like, there is a degree of, when you come on a scene, you don't have to jump straight to disrespect. Like, the issue we have right now is we believe that these officers believe that, believe that they have to escalate things. And that's the problem we have. It's like, for me, I mean, I even know, like, for instance, when I'm, if I'm dealing with my children and I start to get upset, the more I get upset, the more I speak sometimes, the more it escalates, right? But if I can kind of myself de-escalate, take myself out of the situation, then I can deal with the situation better. But when you're getting angry and you're angry, trying to yell at somebody and move the situation due to anger and instill fear, these are the results you get. So it's like, there's also a degree of, this is a horrible situation, what's about to happen to this officer and what happened to the female officer. But there's also demonstrates that we've got to, like, de-escalation has to be, how to de-escalate these situations has to be primary in the training of these officers. That's how we alleviate these situations on the side of the road. You're going to see, we're going to watch another body cam footage after this one where an officer attacks his own chief on the side of the road. It's nuts. These guys really are really high strung, and it leads to tragedies. But anyways, let's continue watching. But I warn you, next 20 seconds is going to be tough to watch.
Car, man.
We got one at Taser Point.
I'm not doing nothing wrong.
Get out of the car, Kenny.
This is not my car. I'm not doing nothing wrong.
I didn't say it was your car. Get out of the car, Kenny. Go ahead, hit him.
Out of the car.
What are you for, man?
Get out of the car.
What are you hitting me for?
Taser the point.
Get out
Get out of the car!
Car.
Oh,
Get out of the car. No,
I didn't do nothing.
Get out.
I didn't do nothing.
Get that
Kenny, you
seatbelt
better
on.
not-
Please don't do this to me.
You're about to get it
Please.
again.
You're gonna
Please.
get it, Kenny.
Please.
Get it.
Please stop. Let me talk to my member of my
I'm just gonna taste.
You're getting it again.
335 shots fired. I'm hit. 334's hit. Ah! Leg! Ah! 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 Leg! Ah! 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 Help! Help! I've been shot! I've been shot! Help! 330.
So we're ended there. After that, some people come onto the scene and help her, and she ends up, goes from there. But there it is. So, I mean, to me, there were ways that could have been avoided. There were absolute ways that could have been avoided. That did not have to be the outcome of that interaction. It's frustrating because, like I said, in my opinion, part of why that ended up going so poorly is because of the lack of de-escalation on the part of the male officer. He comes on the scene. We know he can be a nice guy because he's on the phone talking very nice to her, and then he gets on the scene and just doesn't even take time. And I understand, yes, he should have got out of the car, but he doesn't even take time to assess the situation. He just runs straight out and just starts screaming at him, get out of the car, get out of the car. And the next thing you know, comes around and they make the decision to tase the man. And, it's like there was other ways this should have been handled. It could have been handled. That wouldn't have led to this. It wouldn't have led to, this officer losing his life and her. Now, whether or not we believe that this man was right or justified in what he was doing, the problem is the taser is considered non-lethal force, right? And there was no reason to believe this man's life was threatened. So him pulling out a gun and shooting at two police officers was ridiculous. Okay, and I don't believe you're going to get a jury that's going to go, yeah, he was right, gunning down two police officers who were they had every right to have him get out of the car and demand that he leave the car. So I think it's going to be a long road to haul. I think she was okay to stop him. I don't think, though, necessarily that they needed to escalate it at the moment that they did, because, again, that's how we got to this point where an officer lost his life. And, it's tragic. It's very tragic. I feel terrible for that officer and his family. And I feel terrible for that young officer who's got to go through what she went through there. But I think one of the takeaways here, besides, obviously, like I mentioned, there is some indications that this gentleman that was on the side of the road with these officers, this gentleman wasn't an individual with the best reputation for being calm. He was a hothead. He's had problems with the law. He was a known drug dealer in the area. So there are some things that may have been at play there when this officer pulls him over, and she's saying there's an odor of marijuana, and there might not have been marijuana in the car. That's something we'll never know, because he pulls off, and he was in the wind for 8 days before he turned himself in to the police, and was eventually, taken into custody. Now we're going to move forward and watch. This is his preliminary hearing. We're going to watch some of that, and it'll give us a little more perspective into the case and what's going on now that we saw what happened at the scene. So let's jump back onto the justice cam here and take a look at the preliminary hearing.
Your session court of County is now in session. Judge William Osborne presiding. You may be seated. Come forward. Before we begin, the court's going to make this announcement. Due to the nature of the case, you likely will see evidence, hear testimony that will anger you, upset you, shock you. Court will not tolerate any outbursts. This is the only warning you will get. If you can't comply with this, you need to leave now. If there are any outbursts, you will be removed immediately. Okay. State ready?
We are, Your Honor. I believe we need the defendant. Okay.
Students ready?
Court, please, we have a preliminary motion to address the court.
All right, we'll take that up. Let's get the way to it. Yes, sir.
All right, so there he is. That's what he looks like now outside of his
He was
car,
arrested on the 13th day of February of this
and he's
year.
got appointed counsel.
He was brought before Your
At this
Honor
point.
on the 15th, last Thursday, at which time our office was appointed. At that time, we had not spoken to Mr. Dehart. Since then, he has more than once expressed the desire to hire counsel and has informed us that he is in the process of doing that. We are asking the court to continue this case for a week or 2 weeks so that he's able to employ counsel. He has a right to a counsel of his choice, just like any person would have the right to hire their own lawyer or their own doctor if they needed medical treatment. The Constitution of the state of Tennessee, as well as that of the United States, affords a defendant a right to the assistance of counsel, and if he can afford it, of counsel of his choice. We have spent several hours trying to prepare this preliminary hearing, and as far as I can say, we believe that we will be able to do a competent job. We're not saying that we aren't prepared, but we are saying that Mr. Dehart has the right to counsel of his choice. As far as I know, this is a case of first impression, because I have never in 50 years of practice had this come up to where a person wasn't given, in this county at least 2 weeks to hire a lawyer. In every court I've ever been in front of, including Your Honor numerous times, defendants are usually given a couple of 3 weeks to hire a lawyer. This case is as serious as any case can be. If he's able to hire a lawyer, I will not be surprised if it costs him in the neighborhood of $100,000. I don't know how many of us could come up with that kind of money at short notice if we were required to do that. So we suggest it's not unreasonable. He is in custody, he doesn't have a bond, he's not going anywhere. On top of which, we want to make sure that as the Public Defender's Office wants to make sure he gets a fair trial as possible. As Judge Delosier always said, quoting an authority that I've forgotten, justice not only must be done, it must also be seen to be done. We want to avoid any possibility of a post-conviction relief if he should get convicted. We want to make sure that all the process are properly complied with. He has said that he's able to, he or his family, I'm not sure which, is able to employ a lawyer. He would like to do that, and he would like to have a reasonable time to be able to do that. So with all due deference, we're asking Your Honor to continue this case for a week or two so that he can obtain counsel.
I mean, with all due respect to him, I would think that after, he spent now nearly a week in jail, you would think that they would have counsel lined up already. I'm not sure what the holdup is. So I can kind of understand where the state would come in here and say, well, this doesn't seem like a realistic argument here. I mean, if he's going to hire counsel, go ahead and hire counsel. But as of right now, he hasn't hired counsel. So it's kind of interesting. And then you also have to take into account the fact that he was on the lam for 8 days. Wouldn't you have thought if he was going to hire counsel that his family would have gotten him in touch with an attorney? So it seems to me like this is just a delay tactic on his part. But, I mean, maybe it's a issue of getting funding together, but it just seems like this guy's trying to delay the preliminary hearing, and kind of mess around with the court here.
Your Honor, respectfully to Mr. Garner's motion, the state would oppose. I certainly understand the motion and where he's coming from. However, it has been 12 days since the alleged conduct that has brought us in here to court today. 5 of those days, the defendant was out of custody. The defendant and anyone on his behalf who might hire counsel was certainly fully aware during those 5 days out of custody that he was going to need an attorney. He has now been in custody 7 days. The court has given him adequate time to hire an attorney. In fact, attorneys have contacted my office and I believe the Public Defender's Office about this case, and they have either declined to represent the defendant or they have not been able to reach terms with the defendant regarding their representation. So respectfully, he has very adequate counsel, very competent counsel. There are no attorneys in Blount County more experienced than Mr. Garner and Mr. Elrod. They have handled more cases like this than anyone. So respectfully, he has competent counsel. All parties are prepared to go forward. He has been given adequate time by this court, which is all the law requires, to obtain an attorney of his choice. He has failed to do so. He has competent counsel. The state would ask that we move forward at this time.
Mr. Garner, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
The motion to continue is denied. This is docket number CR 56020, State of Tennessee versus Kenneth Wayne Dehart Jr. Count 1, first-degree murder. Count 2, attempted first-degree murder. Count 3, possession of a weapon by a convicted felon. State's ready to call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Very briefly beforehand, in regards to count 3, the state has 3 exhibits that it will seek to introduce at this time. First, a certified copy of a Class C felony aggravated assault conviction from 2003. I have previously provided those to defense counsel, Your Honor. We'd ask that be Exhibit 1. Secondly, Your Honor, again, a certified copy of a conviction of the Class E felony of reckless endangerment involving a deadly weapon from 2006, Blount County Circuit Court. We'd seek to have entered as Exhibit 2.
So there you have it. I mean, he's got other violent convictions with a firearm. I mean, so these are things that, again, they could contribute to the idea that the police officers probably should have been a little bit more maybe careful, right? This is a guy who we know has a history with firearms, but it also could lead to their idea that they were trying to get him out of the car and they were trying to search his car, and that they could have been cooking up a reason to search his car. But again, were they lawfully able to do what they were doing? Yes, they were. Should he have complied? Yes, he should have. Is bringing a gun to a taser fight acceptable? No, because again, a taser is not considered to be a deadly weapon. Now, maybe he'll make some argument his leg was hurt. Maybe he's got heart problems. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. But one thing that I caught on there after having watched that video a couple times is he does say, "I tried to effing warn you all, and this is what you all get." That's what he said as he was driving away. So if you go back and find that video and watch it, you hear that when he's saying that, and that's not a good thing. That's not good at all, actually, for him. So, anyways, let's keep watching.
And then thirdly, Your Honor, a conviction from 2018 to a charge of aggravated assault, which was pled guilty to the lesser included offense of domestic assault in Blount County Circuit Court in 2018. We seek that as Exhibit 3.
May it please the court, we have been given copies of these documents, and we will stipulate their admissibility for purposes of this hearing, but reserve the right to object to their admission at trial if we get there, if circumstances should arise that way.
Your Honor, with that, the state would call Deputy Shelby Eggers.
I don't know what's going on with the defense attorney and how he's taking notes there. It looks like he's taking a nap on his notepad. I mean, good Lord. Very, I guess maybe he needs to be that close just to. See what he's writing, I guess. I don't know. Crazy.
Good morning. Will you state your name, please?
Shelby Eggers.
And will you spell your last name for the record?
Eggers.
Thank you. And where are you employed?
The Blount County Sheriff's Office.
And what is your current position at the Blount County Sheriff's Office?
Deputy Sheriff assigned to patrol.
And how long have you been with the Sheriff's Office?
Almost 5 years.
Have you held positions with the Sheriff's Office prior to going to patrol?
Yes, sir.
What are those?
I worked in the jail. I worked adult correction.
When did you transition from corrections to patrol?
In August of 2022.
And did you have to undergo certain training in order to make that transition to patrol?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
I went through the patrol academy or the post academy.
And how long is that?
It's 13 weeks.
And when did you start that and finish that?
I began it, I believe it was August 15th of 2022. I graduated November 4th of 2022.
And just in general, not specifically, what all does the academy cover?
Essentially everything that you need to be a post-certified police officer in the state of Tennessee.
All right. Now, once you completed the academy, do they just immediately release you on patrol by yourself, or is there additional training involved?
No, sir. I had to go through 14 weeks of field training with a trained field training officer.
And what does that entail, just briefly?
Basic patrol duties, responding to calls, traffic stops, welfare checks, property checks, things of that nature.
And did you successfully complete that?
Yes, sir.
Since getting out on your own patrol and completing that, have you had any additional training that you've undergone regarding, your patrol activities?
Yes, sir. I attend 40 hours of in-service every year. I recently completed a class called ICAT. It's essentially a version of CIT, which is Crisis Intervention Training.
Deputy Eggers, when you're on patrol, just in general, what are your job duties and responsibilities while you're on duty?
I respond to calls for service in my assigned zone or assigned zones. I do regular patrol on the streets, whether that's traffic enforcement, talking to people, things of that nature.
Now, are there different shifts that you all work while on patrol here at the Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir. So we have a first, second, and third shift. We work 10-hour shifts. First shift is scheduled from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Evening shift, which is my assigned shift, is scheduled from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. And night shift comes in at 8 p.m. and stays until 6 a.m.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned zones. What are zones? How does that work with patrol?
So we have 4 zones in Blount County. Blount County is split up basically into 4 quadrants. Zones 1 and 2 are the south end zones of the county, and zones 3 and 4 are the north end zones of the county.
And while you're on patrol, is there a way you all handle backup, or how is backup handled if you need additional officers or assistance while you're on patrol?
So our supervisors make our lineup and they assign us to a specific zone or set of zones. It's different every day. I don't work the same zone every day. We'll have deputies assigned to each zone, and then we'll also have a county backup north, which covers the north end, zones 3 and 4, as I mentioned just earlier, and a county backup south that covers zones 1 and 2, as I mentioned earlier. We also sometimes have county-wide backup, which will be backup for the entire county.
Thank you. And if I could now please direct your attention to Thursday, February the 8th of 2024. Were you on duty on that date?
Yes, sir.
And I assume you were working, as you said, evening shift, second shift?
Yes, sir.
And did you have an assigned zone that day?
Yes, sir. I was assigned to County Zone 3.
And just in general, where is Zone 3?
Seymour, Eagle, Ten Rockford, that area.
Okay. And what was your backup situation on that night, February the 8th?
So with it being a Thursday, we had more people there than normal. Those are training days for our specialty units. So I actually had a partner assigned to Zone 3 with me, Deputy Amanda Fritz. We had a county backup north, and I cannot recall who that was. And then we had 2 county-wide backups who were Deputy Greg McCowan and Deputy Noah Bain.
While you were on duty on February the 8th, did you have reason to conduct a traffic stop on Sevierville Road?
Yes, sir.
And what type of vehicle was it that you stopped?
It was a silver Lexus SUV.
And do you know where on Sevierville Road this traffic stop occurred?
It occurred in the 4900 block in between Keeble Road and Destiny Lane.
And is that located in Blount County, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
And do you know the approximate time of the traffic stop?
Around 2000 hours or 8 p.m.
8 p.m. And what was it that caused you to stop that vehicle? Did you observe or see anything?
Yes, so I came up behind the vehicle. I first observed the vehicle swerving inside its lane, so it didn't cross the double yellow or the fog line. It was kind of just going back and forth. Then I observed the vehicle go left of center over the double yellow line just a little bit. It did that for a moment, and then I observed the vehicle go all the way left of the center line to where the driver's side front tire was almost touching the white fault line on the opposite side of the road.
And is it that at that time that you activated your emergency lights?
Yes.
Okay. And did the vehicle stop?
Yes.
Where is it that it stopped initially?
In the center of its lane on Sevierville Road.
And is that an ideal place for a traffic stop?
No, sir.
Why is that?
It's not safe for me or the person I've stopped. We can get rear-ended from behind by a car. I can get hit by a car out talking to them. So it's not an ideal location or safe location to stop.
So what did you do when the vehicle stopped in the middle of the road?
I walked up to the driver's side window and I introduced myself to the driver as Shelby and told him that I worked for the Blount County Sheriff's Office and that I was going to ask him to pull into the driveway, which was just forward and to the left of where he had stopped in the road.
And did he do that initially?
Sort of. He pulled up, but he pulled horizontally across the driveway that I'd asked him to pull into, stopped in the yard, and the vehicle was still partially, it was kind of sitting on the fog line, but my vehicle was still all the way in the roadway.
So what did you do then?
I reapproached the vehicle again, spoke to the driver and asked him to pull into the driveway, which was in front of the driveway that I formerly asked him to pull into, and told him to pull in like he was going to the house.
And did he do so?
Yes.
And that driveway is still located in Blount County, I believe?
Yes.
At that point in time, did you approach the vehicle and have a more in-depth conversation with the driver?
Yes.
How many people were in that vehicle?
Just one.
Just one. And the driver of that vehicle, do you know who that was?
Yes, it
Who-
was the defendant, Kenny Devil.
Could you please identify him here today?
Yes, he's sitting in front of me.
Record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant.
Thank you. What did you do? Did you tell the defendant why you had stopped him?
Yes, sir.
What did you tell him?
I told him, I introduced myself again, and I let him know that I'd stopped him because he was all over the roadway.
All right, now, to be fair, had you ever met the defendant, Mr. Dehart, before this day?
No, sir.
Did you have any prior knowledge whatsoever of the defendant before this interaction?
No, sir.
What did the defendant say in response when you told him why he had been stopped?
He told me that he didn't realize that he had swerved. He had been pulling his hair back, and he may have swerved in that, but he was so sorry he didn't realize that he had swerved.
Okay. Did you ask the defendant for his license, registration, proof of insurance, that sort of thing?
Yes.
And was he able to provide those?
Yes, he was able to retrieve his wallet from the floor and pull his driver's license out of his wallet. We were having a conversation, but he continually was talking. So he was distracted a bit, and it took him a moment to find the vehicle registration.
Did that seem at all at odd to you or indicate anything to you or anything like
I noticed
that?
he was maybe upset or nervous about something because he was continually talking. He did not stop talking from the time that I approached the window to the time that everything happened.
All right. So you took his driver's license, correct?
Yes, sir, and he
Did-
handed me the vehicle registration.
All right. Did you notice anything else or sense anything else at that time that caused you concern?
I observed the odor of marijuana at the driver's side window.
All right. So based on that, you've got his driver's license. Where do you go from there?
I go back to my vehicle so that I can check his driver's license status and see if he has any active warrants in any of our local counties.
And was his license valid?
His license was valid, he did not have any active warrants.
All right. What do you do while you're in the vehicle at this time?
I made a phone call to Deputy McCowan. We had already spoken back and forth over the radio, and I knew he was on his way to me. I called him on the phone just to give him a little bit more information of what I was dealing with. I let him know that I thought that I had an impaired driver and that I was possibly going to be doing SFSTs or standardized field sobriety tests with the driver.
So from an investigatory purpose, you're going to extend this traffic stop for what reasons, based on your interaction with the defendant?
In order to determine whether the defendant was safe to operate a motor vehicle on a public roadway and to search the vehicle because of the odor.
All right, thank you. Did you eventually return to the vehicle and make contact with the defendant again?
Yes.
Now, how did you approach the vehicle this second time?
The second time I made a passenger side approach, it gave me a bit more of a tactical advantage. My eyebrows were kind of raised based off of his, he seemed to be nervous. So I made a passenger side approach as kind of an element of surprise.
At this point, are you yelling at the defendant or anything like that?
No, sir.
All right. Did you tell the defendant sort of what your plan was from an investigation standpoint?
Yes, sir.
What did you tell him?
I let him know that I needed him to step out of the vehicle in order for me to search it, and I let him know also that I had probable cause to search it due to the odor of marijuana.
And how did he respond to that?
He was not very happy about it. He became more defiant, I guess defensive.
All right. And at this point in time, is he on the phone with anyone that you could tell?
Yes, he was on the phone with, I believe, his grandmother.
All right. And what conversation, did you have conversation with the grandmother?
I did. Originally, the grandmother and I and the defendant talked back and forth about the insurance. He was searching for the proof of insurance and the insurance cards. And she was the owner of the vehicle, so she was reassuring me over the phone that she did have insurance, and she must have just not put the new card in there. So we talked about that, and then I also explained to her why I needed the defendant to step out of the vehicle.
And let me ask you, so was it pretty common for you to have asked Deputy McCowan to join you at this traffic stop? Would that be out of the ordinary at all?
No, typically, anytime a deputy makes a traffic stop.
I was going to say, typically you would have two deputies there at least.
For backup, somebody always, we work with each other well enough to know that if somebody makes a traffic stop, somebody is going to try to back them up. Whoever's closest will come to them just as a measure of caution.
Right. So were you able to convince the defendant to exit the vehicle voluntarily?
Now let's listen to how they
Did you
deal with
continue
how
to request him
McCowan
to do so?
arrives.
Yes, sir.
And how did that conversation go?
I continued to kind of plead with him and ask him to get out of the vehicle. And I also let him know eventually, after talking to him for a few minutes, that if he did not willingly step out of the vehicle, that I was going to have to forcibly remove him from the vehicle.
Let me ask you this: how big in your mind was the defendant? You know, how would you describe him?
I couldn't tell his height because he was seated in the vehicle, but probably 2 or 3 times my size. He's a bigger guy.
Yeah. Did Deputy McCowan eventually arrive on scene?
Yes.
And where did he park?
He parked his cruiser almost parallel to mine. That's mine.
And how did he
So
approach
she
the
deals
vehicle
with
of the
this.
defendant where you were talking with him at?
Here we go.
Driver's side approach.
All right. And what did you do as Deputy McCowan approached the driver's side?
After Deputy McCown began speaking with the defendant, I walked in.
Notice they gloss over how he arrives. See,
And stood next to Deputy McCown, sort of towards the beef.
not to say, like I said, that
And
doesn't.
what is your conversation with the defendant like at this point?
I continually ask him to get out of the vehicle. I tell him this is his last chance. He's gonna have to step out of the vehicle or I'm gonna have to pull him out. And, then we open the door and.
I mean, the idea though that you're going to pull a man
So
out
what is
when
your-
you're
what is
shooting
your
electricity
first,
through his body is
plan of action
ridiculous.
regarding removing him from the vehicle.
Which is why she ends up getting tased. I mean,
If I can use that approach, I like to. So my plan was to put my arm up sort of right about here. I guess it's easier with this arm, right about here so that I could hold him back from folding over the seatbelt and then reach across and unbuckle him to pull him out of the vehicle.
And were you able to successfully do that?
No, sir.
And why not?
He was able to grab a hold of my forearms and we just kind of tussled.
So he fought you off from unbuckling him, basically?
Yes.
All right. So now that the use of hands approach has failed, what is the next approach you all decide to take?
Deputy McCowan draws his taser.
And is there additional conversation with the defendant at this time?
Yes, I informed the defendant that he did not step out of the vehicle, he was going to be tased.
And how did he respond to that?
He was not going to step out of the vehicle.
All right. And eventually, did you observe that taser being deployed?
Yes.
What happened when the taser was deployed?
So, in the tasers that we carry, we have 2 sets of probes. 2 probes are deployed when the taser is fired. So, Deputy McCowan deployed his taser, 2 probes were deployed, and Mr. Dehart was able to pull those probes out by the wires.
So it was a bad contact upon initial deployment?
Yes.
All right. What occurred after the bad contact?
As soon as they were pulled out, essentially as soon as Deputy McCowan fired the taser, the probes were pulled out by Mr. Dehart. And then Deputy McCowan fired his second set of probes, and they made a good contact.
All right. And in conjunction with this second set of probes contacting the defendant, was the defendant doing anything?
He locked up like this.
Okay. And so you have a good contact. So the taser is now effective. What is your plan as far as extracting the defendant from the vehicle?
So I still have to remove his seatbelt at some point so that I can pull him out of the vehicle.
So what did you do?
So while the taser was being deployed and he was incapacitated, I forgot to add that I believe Mr. Dehart shut the door after the first bad contact with the taser. The door was shut. When I went in, I still had to get his seatbelt off, get him out, so I opened the door while the taser was being deployed, reached in to grab the seatbelt, and I got wrapped up in the wire, so I got tased as well, and I was fully incapacitated.
So you were feeling the effects of the taser as well as Mr. Dehart?
Yes,
All right. Once, how long does a taser typically go for?
5 seconds.
All right.
now see, the question to me, right, is in this case, and if I'm her supervisor, if I'm this prosecutor having a conversation at some point, is why was it necessary at that particular moment to pull him from the car? You know, even if it was like, I'm not going to comply with you. You have a series of charges that's going to eventually lead to him being arrested. If he drives off, you get, deputies or whatever, go down to his house, arrest him, and bring him out. But if at that moment you're tasing him, he's in the car, why is any of that necessary? And that's the point we have to get to in this case, where we have to get to with police officer understanding the escalation of this situation. There has to be a point where the officers at the scene say, we're going to de-escalate, and we're going to say, okay, you need to get out of your car. You need to understand right now, you now are under arrest for obstructing an investigation, whatever the charges are that would emanate from his decision to not cooperate. Try to speak with him and make him understand that. tell them you're getting out of the car. Now, the issue of probable cause to search the car. We have probable cause now because you're going to be arrested and taken into custody, and then we got to tow the car, and we're going to get to search the car as part of the towing. So, again, with a cooler head approach, you let the man know, listen, by doing what you're doing right now, I believe I have probable cause to ask you to get out of the car. I believe I have probable cause to search your car. I'm conducting an investigation. Right now, you are about to allow this to happen because you are obstructing my investigation. Now, we're going to hold up here. Obviously, to me, de-escalate the situation, bring other people on the scene, and talk to the man for a little bit. Why was it necessary to just dive in the car and start tasing him right away? He wasn't a threat to anybody. And I understand that, we're going to have to drag you out of the car. Remember, that's what she says. Last chance or I'm dragging you out of the car. Why? And that's what we don't get to see the cross here because, unfortunately, the judge cuts the camera feed off when they're about to play the video that we saw. So we didn't get to see the rest of the live here of the preliminary hearing. But, really, why was that necessary? Now, does that mean this man should have pulled out a gun? No, that's the stupid part. Because, again, if you disagree with what police officers are doing, if you disagree with how they're conducting, if you know they're having body-worn camera, it's all being documented, then you just go with it and let your attorney go into court and litigate this thing. As opposed to now, his attorney's having to litigate, the killing of a police officer and the shooting of another. And unfortunately for him, while he may have felt he was under attack, a taser is not deadly force. And he's going to find that out. We're going to read some articles here that will give a little more insight from some attorneys that were contacted in regards to this case. This man might be facing the death penalty. So we're not talking about just rest of your life in prison. We're talking about he may have just killed himself. And you can hear this is a guy who's at his son's basketball game. He's asking to go home and relax in bed. Well, you're not at home in bed now, are you? You're sitting in the jail possibly for the rest of your life. Just senseless in so many ways, and it's senseless in the fact that 2 police officers lost their life. And I hope we walk away from this not just saying he's a bad guy, he's a guy with domestic, a history of domestic charges and things, that we talk about really looking at the fact that this escalated far beyond where it needed to. Yes, he wasn't compliant, but we have to start looking at what is there. How can we change how these interactions happen when somebody's not complying? It's not by force. Force leads to more force. Force leads to people getting hurt. Force leads to George Floyd's. Force leads to things happening that don't go anywhere good. And I know, look, my dad used to, my dad will tell story after story after story about back in the day in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I remember him telling me long ago, never run from a police officer, comply with what they said, because it was well established in my area for a long, long time. I don't think it's as prevalent as happening anymore, given the fact that you've got body-worn cameras and stuff like that. But if somebody fled a police officer, they were getting the hell beat out of them. That was just going to be what it was. And that's got to go away. That is not what they're here for. That's not the way we need this to go down. And when people enforcing the laws are enforcing the laws with force and criminal behavior, that doesn't serve anything. And bringing that extra anger doesn't serve anything. It doesn't serve any purpose. It doesn't help the situation. It didn't help anybody here. Lost the life of a police officer. This young lady was shot, and she's now, I'm sure, traumatized for the rest of her life. Let's finish listening to the rest of the testimony, and then, like I said, we're going to jump into a couple articles here that really demonstrates how bad this guy has hung himself up.
Once that 5 seconds was up, what did you do?
I stepped away from the vehicle to kind of gather my composure and catch my breath. And Deputy McCowan continued to deal with it.
All right. Did Deputy McCowan eventually reposition himself?
as soon as I stepped back from the vehicle, Deputy McCown repositioned himself to where he was sort of standing diagonally facing the defendant. But his body was sort of next to the driver's side mirror.
And did something occur at that point in time?
Yes,
What was that?
I was shot and so was Deputy McCown.
Did you see what had happened?
I was on the ground. All I heard was the gunshots. I didn't ever see the gun being pulled out.
All right. Do you know, where were you shot?
In the leg.
And what was going through your mind at this time?
I didn't know where I had been shot in the leg. I just felt pain in my right thigh. I knew it was somewhere in my thigh. I fell to the ground immediately, and everything kind of moved slow motion. I couldn't get myself up, and I thought, I took a breath, and I accepted death because I thought he was going to fire at me again. And he had an advantage over me. He could have shot me in the back of the head. I thought he was going to kill me.
Were you eventually able to get back on your feet?
Yes.
Where was the defendant when you were doing this?
He was still in the driver's side of the vehicle.
Once you got back on your feet, where did you go?
I ran behind Deputy McCowan's car and drew my service weapon.
All right. Is he still the car motionless at this point, or has he started to move?
I believe he had started to move when I was at the back of the vehicle pulling my gun out, and he drove around a tree in the yard and drove through the yard to exit.
All right. And what did you do as he's pulling around? Is he driving back towards you at this point?
He wasn't driving, well, he was driving back towards my direction, but not at me.
Okay.
He was driving back towards Seville Road, going towards, kind of diagonally towards Seville Road, and ended up turning right to go back towards Maryville.
What did you do as he was passing you?
I moved up to the front of Deputy McCowan's vehicle so I could have a good vantage point. I fired 3 rounds from my service weapon, and he turned right on the Seville Road, the way we were facing. He turned right on the Seville Road, and I still had my gun out, but I knew that I couldn't shoot anymore because I had a line of cars and I didn't want to get any more dangerous.
So you fired the 3 as he's heading towards Seville Road, but chose not to shoot additional rounds because there's other traffic there, basically.
Right.
All right. Deputy, was your cruiser equipped with a dash cam video?
Yes.
And were you likewise equipped with a body-worn camera?
Yes.
And do you know if Deputy McCowan's cruiser was equipped with a dash cam video?
Yes.
And do you know if he was equipped with a body-worn camera?
Yes.
And have you previously reviewed all 4 of those videos?
Yes, sir.
And do those videos fairly and accurately represent the events that occurred that night?
Yes, sir.
Karen, at this time on my...
All right, so that's the end of that video. So I'm going to load up here an article here that I want to review with us, and check that out. Let's see here. So we'll go in here to our document review here. So here is the article that we have, and the title of the article is "What's Next in the Kenneth Dehart Case? Lawyer Explains to Grand Jury." So this kind of gives us a little bit of an idea of what happened with the case after, what we didn't get to see in court. So it says, as Kenneth Dehart's case moves to the grand jury, many may be questioning what that process looks like and what specific motions in the case might mean for the timeline of the case. Wait legal analyst Greg Isaacs explains some of that process in this week's Ask Isaacs. Dehart is accused of shooting and killing Blount County Sheriff Office Deputy Greg McCowan and injuring Deputy Shelby Eggers. During a traffic stop on February 8th. Now, there's an article. We're going to look at this. I would not be surprised about the possibility of the death penalty. So, again, this man, like I said, this guy's sitting here telling this officer, I want to go home and go to bed and, la-di-da-di-da-di. And yet here he is now facing the death penalty. I mean, you got to wonder why. Why did he not just go home? Or not go home, but why did he not just comply and avoid all of this? Anyways, during a preliminary hearing on Tuesday, the case was bound over to the grand jury with the charges of first-degree unaliving, attempted first-degree unaliving, and felon in possession of a weapon. I guess he wasn't even supposed to have a weapon. Dehart is currently represented by the Blount County Public Defender's Office and asked for the preliminary hearing to be delayed to allow him to hire counsel, but Judge William Brewer Jr. denied the request. During the preliminary hearing, the prosecution called Eggers to the stand, where she testified for more than an hour. During that time, the prosecution was also shown the body and dash cam videos from the traffic stop. The major question in the hearing was if there was probable cause for the case to proceed with the charge of first-degree murder or unaliving, which requires proof of premeditation. One of the public defenders argued that the charge should move forward as second-degree unaliving because the shooting was unplanned. Listen, premeditation can develop in a minute, and premeditation happens the moment that he now I will say there's a potential here that you could say that the totality of those circumstances caused him to overreact and shoot. Again, that's one of the issues that can come into effect here is, when you're assessing whether or not something is manslaughter or unaliving, and that is, a situation where he's inflamed. Now, when he overuses force, which is what he did, that can cause that can be justification to move it up to, I'll just say the word, YouTube won't like it, murder, right? But all right, let's see here. So it says Eggers' reason for the traffic stop seems to be essentially the car stayed in its correct lane of traffic but moved slightly to the left and right. Well, Dolores, I'm not sure if you were in there at the beginning of that body cam or of the traffic stop footage, but one of the things is that is pretty clear in this, unfortunately for Mr. Dehart, is he wasn't he crossed he was driving left to center, okay, and that is a legitimate traffic stop. That's a legitimate reason to pull somebody over. So that the probable cause for the stop was sufficient. The question, though, was just because you get pulled over doesn't mean they have a right to search your vehicle. So the question then becomes, was there probable cause for the search that she says she smelled marijuana? And I'll go back and show that because I know not everybody was watching throughout this whole thing. So that's something that's important for everybody to see. But yeah, that's the real crux here is whether or not when she accelerates this, when she starts the investigation, did she have a right to ask him to exit the car? Which you do. Actually, there's a Pennsylvania case, I believe it's State v. Mims, that says, yes, police officers can, as part of a traffic stop, ask you to exit the car. Because part of what they're allowed to do is observe you when you exit the car, and they can have you get out and speak to them. And when they do ask you to exit, now you should never exit the car without being asked to exit the car, but they have a right to ask you to exit your vehicle during a traffic stop. Part of, if you disagree with doing that, they can then charge you with obstructing their investigation. Because if they've pulled you over, and in this case, driving left to center is actually probable cause for a DUI investigation, okay, because that is one of the triggers that triggers it. But there's also a lot of factors, obviously, that goes into proving a DUI. One of them is, okay, so what, she was specifically asking him, saying she smelled marijuana, which is going to allow her to search. She would have been better off to say, I'm initiating or driving under an influence. She was actually indicating, I smell marijuana, which is kind of a trigger, and it is, to say, a lot of police officers say, I smell marijuana, I smell something, I smell drugs in your car, I smell alcohol in your breath, so I need you to leave. But really, she had enough probable cause in the left of center. Now, he gave her an explanation, but she has every right to say, listen, I want you to step out. In my opinion, the way he was talking and all of that stuff indicates that he could have been under the influence. She didn't necessarily need to rely on smelling marijuana, but she was saying, I'm going to have you leave the car. I'm going to search your car. Well, I guess if there was a smell of marijuana, she would have had the right to search his vehicle, but that she was on a slippery slope there. But she had enough, in my opinion, to initiate an investigation into DWI, driving while intoxicated, or driving while or operating under the influence, I guess OWI investigation, based on the fact that he was driving left to center, his mannerisms, his behavior. She had every right to say, step out of the vehicle, let's have a conversation and observe him. And he didn't have a right to stay in the car, unfortunately. Again, he had every right to assert that he wasn't allowing them to search his car, right? He had every right to say, you're not getting in my car, you're not going to search it. Now, if they proceed to search it, anything they find after they search the car, so if they would have found that firearm, which is clearly why he was concerned, he knew he was a felon in possession of a firearm. That's what he was protecting, because he knew there was a firearm in the car, and he was concerned that if they found that, he knew he was going to jail for certain, because he was a convicted felon in possession of a firearm. But that could have gotten thrown out. It is unfortunate that she decided to proceed with smell of marijuana, because I don't think she needed to do that. And I think that could have been maybe have gotten him to understand what they were trying to do. Come out, do some field sobriety tests. But if he gets taken in, he gets taken in. He's going to have to litigate that. But the bottom line is, he didn't want to get out of his car because he knew he had a gun in the car. And unfortunately, he goes to the extreme, right? He pulls the gun out and shoots. What are you doing? And now look at this man. He's facing, I mean, his whole life is over. So let's go in here. We're going to take a look at this article here. Let's see here. So we've got, says, I would not be surprised, lawyer explains the possibility of death penalty in Dehart case. So let's just see what they say about this. So with Ken Dehart, the suspect accused of fatally shooting Blount County Deputy Greg McCowan in custody, the next phase of the legal process. Hold on a second. I think I may have lost. Hold on here. Share that. Sorry, I think I disconnected the article. I apologize. So with Kenneth Dehart, the suspect accused of fatally shooting Blount County Deputy Greg McCowan in custody, the next phase of the legal process has been set in motion. Sheriff James Barong has shared that he wants to see the death penalty considered. That's where things get really serious real quick. You actually have a trial, and the consequences are life or death, attorney Greg Isaacs said. Isaacs has been a defense attorney in Knoxville for more than 30 years and serves as a legal analyst for Wait. I believe I've seen Isaacs on Court TV, Law and Crime, I believe, as well. He explained that state law in capital cases such as these has always been clear. Under Tennessee law, to impose the death penalty, the state has to prove at least one aggravating factor beyond a reasonable doubt. That aggravating factor cannot be outweighed by mitigating factors that the defense has to prove. Exceptions have been on pause in Tennessee since January 2023, but Isaacs points out that a ruling such as that will have no impact on the outcome of Dehart's case. Of late, it's because of the availability of drugs relative to the lethal injection, but I don't think it has anything to do with the decision or conviction. Isaacs listed 3 possible aggravating factors. Dehart's prior felony conviction, in which he was in a violent standoff with police. See, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know. This is why you don't escalate that situation with this gentleman. I mean, he was in a violent standoff with the police in 2004. She should have retreated back to her car, and so should this other gentleman, not reaching in his car and going in, and they should have got a team of officers there. And if he chose to leave, well, then they're going to have to find him and go in, prepared so that you don't get killed. I mean, this man was already a violent offender. And if she would have taken the time to run his information, I don't know if she ran it or not. I don't know what she was seeing on her computer, but you would have thought that she would have, had that information, because she didn't have that information. Look what happened. Potentially impeding or eliminating a witness, which is killing, I guess, McCowan, and the killing of a law enforcement officer as reasons that the death penalty could come to fruition. Right from the beginning, those are the three aggravating factors that it would appear from the outside looking in that the state could potentially prove beyond a reasonable doubt, Isaac said. The defense would have their work cut out trying to find mitigating factors to outweigh those. Under Tennessee law, Isaac believes that those reasons could grant Barong his wish. You look at the rawness of the emotion that would be present in that courtroom, I would not be surprised if in this case the jury returned the ultimate verdict and a verdict of death. Dehart was taken into custody on Tuesday on the charges of first-degree unaliving, attempted first-degree unaliving, and a felon in possession of a weapon. He is scheduled to appear in court on Thursday morning at 9 a.m., which we saw that hearing. So, I mean, like I said, it's a situation where just for him to have done what he did in this case is just absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand it. I don't understand why you would go to that extreme circumstance, and ruin your life. I mean, like he just did, because he's not just facing life in prison. He's facing the death penalty now. Just absolutely insane in my opinion. In that. So, let me know. I know I got a couple people in chat. I mean, what do you guys think about this case? Do you think that the death penalty, this is a death penalty case? Do you think that the state should pursue the death penalty for him? I mean, I kind of believe, it's a situation where borderline for me, because, he was under duress. He was under, he used excessive force in relationship to the force being used on him. And in his mind, he may have really felt that, hey, I was under attack. So I think that kind of doesn't get us the first degree, right? He didn't set out that night to go kill a police officer, but he ends up shooting a police officer because just like he did, in regards to his need to get out of the car, he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Okay, I just went back and watched the beginning of the footage. He swerved into the other lane quite badly. It's a shame it escalated, but it was Dehart's fault, in my opinion. Yes, see, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing was his fault. In just not understanding that, although he has every right to challenge the officer's search in court, he doesn't have a right to not get out of that car. And I believe it's State v. Mims. I believe is the one we're going to find out here. Let me just look it up. But there is a case law that says, case law for Yep. Okay. So let me share the screen here. Let's go back in. Share this tab instead. All right. So yeah, the case law, it's Maryland versus Wilson and Pennsylvania versus Mims. The U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly and unequivocally held that officers may order the driver and any passengers to get out of the car until the traffic stop is over. So it doesn't mean they could search your car or get in your car, but they can do that. And the Supreme Court has held that is allowed. But it doesn't allow them to search your vehicle. Now again, it doesn't mean you can stop them from searching your vehicle either, right? Because just, and this is the misunderstanding, especially when you see a lot of YouTube people out there that are talking about your rights and stuff like that and asserting your rights. While you can assert your rights, while you can even cuss at a police officer, there is a line, right? And there is an idea here that's like, understand, your rights are in a courtroom, not on the side of the road. So there is a degree of, all right, this is what I'm saying. I'm making it clear. I in no way waived my right here to say you can search my car. That's important. And you should very clearly state that. But don't mistake that with saying, I can get in your way and stop you from searching my car. You can't get in my car. They can get in your car. And now anything they find if they don't have probable cause, or if a judge comes back and reviews that search and says it was unlawful. Now, anything they find a dead body in that car, it's no longer admissible against you in any crime. They have to find it, and if anything that emanates from the evidence found in that car, in other words, they found a dead body in your car, and now they start investigating this, and they had no other reason to suspect you, fruit of the poisonous tree, it extends completely out from that. But you can't get in the way of it. And what Mr. Dehart didn't understand here is he couldn't stop that. And instead, he tells him, you're not doing this. Now, this guy's kind of a jerk from what I understand of doing some research on him. He's, again, had a past history of standoffs with police. So, it's no surprise that we end up here. He's a guy who apparently, has a couple of domestic cases against him. He's not a guy that does well being told what to do. So it was immediately going to become a point of contention with him when they decided that they were going to stop him and pull him over. And he wasn't going to like that. It wasn't going to be something that he was going to be okay with. So switching gears here, and again, stop me, let me know in chat if there's something you want to talk about, if there's a question you have. We're gonna go for, my plan is go on for 2 hours here, and then if a good discussion emerges or whatever happens, and we go a little longer, that's fine. But I've got another video planned, not long, but it's kind of on the topic of police interactions and just showing how police officers just have somewhat of a temper problem sometimes, and again, how easily things can escalate. And this is where a police officer puts his hands on his own chief. While the chief was in the wrong, this was a very over the top reaction, in my opinion. So let's take a look at this because this is some crazy stuff. This will blow your mind. So let's take a watch on it.
Hey, Ron, just pull that up and put it to the shoulder. Yeah. Thanks.
Channels here, so I credit him for putting this on. I'm not trying to steal his thunder. Please go over, watch that video, give him your watch.
I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know. I'm asking you if he's RMA or not. Oh, yeah, no. What? Yeah.
I get that. I'm not saying you aren't. I just want to make sure your head is okay. He's giving them problems that we need to be aware of.
I can't get any.
Can you tell me your first name at least?
Why you got a jacket on?
And this gentleman is the police chief right here.
What's on the back of it?
What do you mean?
Look at tell me what's on the back of it.
Oh, it washed off.
Yeah, then get rid of it.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Okay.
You're a sergeant, for God's sake.
Okay, chief.
He's in the middle of a traffic stop, and this chief is doing this.
Chief, I'm on a DWI.
Over here.
Chief, I'm on a DWI.
Get over here.
I'm on a DWI. Chief, I'm working. I don't have time to argue about a jacket, okay? Don't you touch me. Don't you touch me. Don't you fucking touch me. You have a problem? Fuck. You grabbed me. What? Now get out of here before you get a problem.
Take him out. Take him.
No, you're going to go in.
Take him.
Drunk again.
I mean, it's crazy.
Whose keys are these?
They're mine.
Get out of here.
No.
Chief, get out of here or you're going to get locked up.
No,
Chief, you're going to get locked up. You're grabbing me. I asked you 3 times to leave me alone. You're obstructing my DWI.
Billy, come over here.
Let him go.
That's the first thing. Billy,
I'm trying to get away from everybody.
Shut up, because you're in trouble now. Stop,
no, I'm
please,
not in trouble.
Stop,
I'm not in
stop,
trouble.
stop.
Now I want you to notice what that officer does. This is the craziness of the whole thing. He puts his hand on him, right? He just threw that chief on the car because he touched him. He said, "Don't you put your hands on me." He goes over there and puts his hand on the chief. So, I mean, is the chief okay now to throw him against her? Now, yes, the chief is drunk. Yes, the chief does get suspended. Yes, this officer does get returned to the street. But the idea here is I hope he didn't get returned to the street without somebody addressing the fact that, listen, man, You got to get your anger under control. Imagine if that was a suspect who gets out of the car. That dude's going to be on the ground. That's how these accidents happen. That's how people lose their life. That's how we end up with an escalated situation like what happened with Mr. Dehart. Because a guy like that shows up at the scene and he's just ready to go. 0 to 100. He's yelling, he's screaming, he's letting his anger get in touch with him, and he's slamming people around. It's nuts. I mean, there's got to be a point here where we have to stop, allowing these situations to occur by allowing these things to escalate to the degree that they do. Let's keep watching here.
You're going to be in trouble.
Stop,
You're
Billy. Billy.
Chief, I'm working at DWI.
I'm listening to you.
Okay.
Shut up.
No.
You're in trouble because this is the first thing. First of all, I was about to say to you, you stupid. I was about to say to you, what do you need OEM for?
You're embarrassing me in front of the men about the jacket.
No. That's neither here nor there.
Okay.
That's neither here nor there. Now we got a real fucking problem, Billy.
Yeah, we do.
I know.
We do.
All right, you're gonna have to go inside.
No, how about we do this?
No.
We go inside.
Billy, you're gonna have to go inside right now with me. You're gonna have to go inside and
we're in a serious collision.
Billy, you're not doing anything when I'm on the scene, okay? You should know better than this, my friend.
No.
Listen to me.
Grab me.
No, I said
You were
come
out of
over
line.
here.
You were out of line. You grabbed me. It's on video.
Billy.
It's on video. I'm not going to argue with it. I have a crash to work.
Billy.
I have a job to do.
You're relieved. Billy, you're relieved.
Exactly.
You're relieved.
That's exactly what it
No.
was. 100%.
You have to understand something. You're relieved.
And that's concerning.
Billy, you're relieved.
Again,
Go home.
this guy's got to be able to control his emotions better at the scene of an accident.
No, Billy, you're relieved.
And that was ridiculous.
I have officers here, right here. They could get waffled because my car is blocking it.
Billy, you're relieved.
And I think Billy knows he effed up here.
Please, Billy, don't. You're suspended, Billy.
I'm suspended?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm suspended. I'm going home.
Yes. Billy, come here.
I'm going home. We can't talk. I'm suspended.
No.
I'm suspended. I'm going home.
And you're going to wait for me there.
No, I'm not. I'm suspended. I'm going home.
You're going to go in the headquarters and wait for me there.
Let me work my crash.
This
is why I'm here.
Billy, you're suspended.
All right, if I'm suspended, then I'm not going to wait inside. Nothing more to say.
No, Billy. You have to. Let me explain something to you. Billy, you're suspended.
Okay.
All right. Billy.
Yes.
Right now.
Okay.
Wait for me in there. That's an order.
Can you do me a favor? Can you put your car where my car is so our officers and first aid don't get run over, please?
I got you.
Thank you.
Billy's suspended. Over here. You see what happened there?
Yes, Chief.
What happened?
There's some type of exchange between you and Sergeant Major.
Well, we're going to talk about that later. Everybody's got that. Billy's suspended. You already got this. What do you got here? What do you have?
We're trying to figure that out, Chief.
Okay. Go on, Billy.
I'm in there.
Yes, you're going to meet me in there. Go and put the dog in right now.
There's nowhere to put her. She's going to ruin things.
Okay, we'll leave her in there. Go in.
I'm going. I got people on the road. I want to make sure they're safe. I don't want to run you over, so watch out.
No. Come on. Go ahead. You know I love you. Come on.
I know. What? What's wrong with you?
Stop. Billy.
Why would you do that to me?
Stop. Billy. Stop. You got enough problems already. Please.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, another unfortunate situation that occurs due to an officer losing his temper. I mean, I think obviously Billy really felt embarrassed. I think he realized he effed up. I mean, obviously, I think he got suspended for a little while and he was allowed to get back. And then, Oh yeah, I mean, I know. Yeah, I got enough problems already. Like the chief turning up to a scene drunk. I know, and that's obviously like I understand he was frustrated with the chief, and rightly so. But I think everybody at the scene understood this. Obviously, it sounded like this police chief has had problems with alcohol and showing up at the scene drunk. So I think that hey, um, this is a situation where, um, he didn't need to do that. But the reason why I highlight this is because imagine if that was a suspect, right? This guy didn't have the capacity to deal with his police chief, somebody who he knows has stripes over him, regardless if you disagree with him or you don't like him or is annoying you. I mean, we've all dealt with that in the work setting. You don't put your hands on your boss. I mean, even if and whatever that chief did, I mean, it was like a touch. But I think it was hilarious how moments later he walks over to the chief, and he puts his hand on his arm, right? And this after he's telling the chief, "You don't touch me," but he's going to go touch the chief, right? So it just shows you, like I said, I think he was very frustrated with the idea that this chief was uh, um, embarrassing him in front of his men. So I think that he just did not handle that very well. But again, theme of the yes, exactly needs anger management and absolutely needs anger management and de-escalation training at least, absolutely. And this is to me what I think that the whole thing is listen, in my opinion, what I have family. My dad was a defense attorney, but I also have family on my mom's side. My wife has family that are law enforcement officers. In fact, one of my cousins was a police chief. His dad was a police chief. So I have mad respect for law enforcement, right, and what they do. It's a stressful job, right? But I think we also have to recognize that, and we also have to recognize that these individuals become stressed out, and then they end up on the side of the road. I want you to think about, if you're a parent and you're having stress and you're stressed, and then your child comes and does something. Your reaction is far more extreme when you're stressed out. And, think of these criminals out here, right? These criminals are essentially like the children that's doing wrong, right? And they're coming out here and they're doing stupid things. They're saying stupid things. They're talking back. They're being irritating. And what happens, right? They don't have the capacity to deal with it. So we have to start to deal with the fact that we have to say, first off, we have to recognize that this is not okay, right? That these things are not okay. And as a result, we have to, provide the assistance to the police officers to get counseling and training or not training, but support to help them be in a better position to deal with these things when uh, they occur, and not be so quick to jump to a violent reaction, because that's just not the way. That's just not the way it can be. I mean, really, it's a situation where, um, you know, again, life depends on it. Life and death depends on it. I mean, and we saw that in the Dehart situation. If those officers, and it is not on them that he pulls out a gun and shoots them, but if those officers are doing things different, are trying to de-escalate the situation, are approaching it differently, they both go home unscathed. And we have to understand that you can't come on a scene with a mentally unstable individual. You've got to be the one. The officers, unfortunately, we have to ask that the police officers on scene have to be the ones willing to de-escalate things. Because if they're not willing to de-escalate things, then who's going to be there to do it, right? I mean, because if they're going to come in and think, well, the way to do this is, hey, I'm going to fight fire with fire in that instance, what ends up happening? Police officer ends up killed. And it's really, really sad. It really is. It's sad, and it's something that is avoidable. And that's as much of a curative thing as saying, we need police. Obviously, we need better educated police. We need police that are better supported. We need to make sure that officers are having, in my opinion, every 6 months, they should be having check-ins. It should be mandatory that they have to go and seek out counseling and help and talk to somebody with what they see to help get their stress levels down. They should be having stress checks. I mean, these are things that we have to understand, because when you're putting someone out in the community who has the right to take away someone's life, liberty, and happiness with their investigations, two, they're carrying a firearm, they're interacting with the public, they're having to make decisions that essentially lead to life and death consequences. That's what we need. And in cases like, say, the Tucker case, right? I mean, we have police officers in that case. We have a 30-year veteran who is out here. If you just listen to how she talks about the people at the treehouse and the way she viewed the world, part of that's what led her to do the things she did in that case, to go after Tyrone Tucker and bring him into the situation that he's in. And the thing about it is he is not the only one. He is not the only individual down there. There are other people, and I'm going to get into that. And I'm going to be bringing some of those cases out, because he's not the only victim of Penny Phelps. He's not the only one that Colleen Dunn utilized jailhouse snitch on, right? And I'm not saying that those other people, I have to look into their cases fuller to see. I mean, they might very well be guilty, because a lot of times what police do is they believe they've got a guilty suspect and they're just kind of enhancing their case. And my dad had, can go over case after case. He'll talk about it. He had several cases. He had a case once where there was it was the mother-in-law of a police officer that was a victim in the case. And in that particular case, the individual was acquitted eventually, but he was acquitted because there were pieces of evidence that were believed to be planted. And as a result, the jury doubted the case, and he was able to show that there was potential for fingerprints and things to have been planted at the scene. And they ultimately let the police officer whose mother-in-law was the victim in the case investigate the case. It was, but the point is, police will do that. Police will believe the end justifies getting there, and it doesn't. And we can't allow that to be an idea that takes weight and stands. So, the theme of tonight was, obviously, as you saw there, was to look into the Kenneth Dehart case. Like I said, the idea behind the Justice Watch Lives here is to, I'm going to have topics that I'm going to bring on and discuss. We're going to watch videos together. I want to bring to you, we're going to end. I know it's going to take us a little over 2 hours, but I want to end with the case, the most recent case that we followed on the channel. We're going to end with the verdict in that case for the Adam Montgomery case. We're going to watch a little court TV coverage on that. Tomorrow night, we're going to be getting into, we're round back to the Tyrone Tucker case, because there's a clip from Vinnie Politan I want to show. That is absolutely wonderful. I didn't even know Vinny did this, but it'll be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. The goal was to go off at 9. Fortunately, it's subject to things. Tonight, there was technical difficulties and some things personally ran a little later than what I wanted. But I want to go off at 9 o'clock Eastern time. And like I said, go for an hour to 2 hours, depending on the night, depending on the topics, depending on the chat. Hopefully we can get more people in here as this becomes a more regular thing, just to stop off and talk. So, and then, like I said, I'll come in with topics, I'll come in with videos, and, if the chat wants to talk about something, we want to talk about things. The other thing we're going to do here is, eventually, this will be the site that I'm going to eventually invite some guests up, get some people up as we're dealing with cases, that we'll have some experts come in. Hopefully, I call my dad the Oracle. I'm trying to get, hopefully, maybe one night that he'll come up and talk some cases with us, go over things, answer questions. But this will be the site for a lot of the stuff that's just kind of off the cuff. Something comes up, I just put an Adelson video out. This will be the place too for if you have questions about videos you see on the channel. Look for this live, come in and ask me the questions. I might even go into the comment section. I got one comment on the Adelson in case somebody disagrees with me with it. I don't know that person was necessarily, she was saying, I believe Wendy knew and Charlie knew. I know I'm saying they knew, right? They knew this because my theory isn't innocence of them. My theory of the Adelson case is that they planned this from the beginning. Charlie, but that Wendy wasn't aware of what was going on, that this was coming about because Charlie was talking about it with Donna as part of her wild, crazy thoughts. And they put this into motion. And again, it's supported by the phone records. And if you go in and look at the phone records in this case, you go in and you listen to Luis Rivera's testimony. You go in and you listen to the things that were said during the trials. And it was always an interesting, odd thing with how this played out. Right. And one of the things is the lack of phone activity before this thing happens. Like in June, as I showed in my video, there's a whole cluster of activity between all in the family. They're all pinging back and forth, right? And then they call off the hit. We don't know why. Again, it never made sense. Luis Rivera says, well, we thought that there were kids there and going to be kids at the house. Well, there was kids at the house this time. He dropped them off at daycare. And they said they lost them. And then Sigfredo talked to Katie. And then next thing you know, he's saying, we're not doing it. My opinion is Wendy gets wind of this, Harvey gets wind of this, and cooler heads prevail, and they say, we're not doing this right now. And Charlie says, all right, call it off, call them home. And I think Katie's saying, hey, Sigfredo wants to get paid. Like, they went all the way up there. Charlie, being the type of arrogant jerk that he is, doesn't want to pay Sigfredo the money to do something like that if he's not doing it. And I think he probably balked at him and said, I'm not paying you either any more money than the money that you've already got. I mean, Charlie's money got $5,000 and that's it. We're done. And that also makes the other mysterious thing that happened is why is Sigfredo confronting Charlie in the middle of the street when they're allegedly planning this killing together, right? That never made sense. No one's been able to make sense of it. In fact, that was an argument of the defense's for reasonable doubt. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it certainly makes sense in the context of the idea being that, there's a dispute going on between them. And that dispute is emanating out of the fact that Sigfredo wants to get paid. And Katie's trying to tell him, listen, Charlie, Sigfredo needs his money. Sigfredo is not somebody to mess around with. You need to pay him. And Charlie's telling him, I'm not going to pay him. I'm not going to pay him any more than whatever it was. He's already been paid. Or maybe there was again, we don't know exactly the specifics of what's going on. But why else is Sigfredo calling the dentist and all that stuff? And I understand the allegations were, well, he was upset because he got wind of Katie. He knew this back in March, and he's not calling anybody. So why suddenly is he so angry about the relationship that he's making these phone calls? There's one reason. They were in a dispute over money because Sigfredo was mad because this thing got called off. And he's basically saying, I want my money. And in his drug-addled, crazy mind, he's fighting with Katie Magbanua. They're not getting along. They're fighting. We know that's happening during the time. And then all of a sudden, you see a bunch of phone activity. And in that morning at 6 a.m., he goes to Comfort Car Rental. What you don't see during that time is any talks like there had been between the Adelson members. You see one guy that's being talked to, that's Charlie. And then you think about the reason why these people were so, like, it was as if they were like, I can't believe we're being charged. I can't believe we're being suspected in this. And that's because they didn't consider themselves as being responsible for this because they thought, well, we canceled this. Charlie canceled this. We didn't want this to happen. And then it goes on and it happens. And then they get notified. Now, we don't know what call they got notified on, but what we know is after the fact, you start seeing that ping pong activity. Phone calls from mom to dad to Charlie to Wendy's being called. And of course, we know Wendy was at the police station. But now they're in freak out mode. And now she's going and dropping money off at his house, washed in a washer machine, according to what they were told. Stapled $100 bills. I mean, you would think that they would be taking the staples out. If they were planning to hand this money off and they knew this thing was going down, you don't do it in that way, right? Katie doesn't show up at his house the night of, so there's a trail, right? This stuff is done. It's already done. The money's already handed off. It's already finished. It's going to be done in a lot more of a planned fashion, right? It was as if this happens and they're just surprised about it. Why are they surprised about it? Because they didn't think it was going to happen. Why is Wendy at the police station saying the stupid shit that she was saying? Oh my God, I'm so relieved. It doesn't sound like my parents had anything to do with this. That's an honest statement. She knew they were thinking about this, and she's like they're saying dumb shit like that. And the police, she never goes and tells them, the police, probably the full story of why she believed that, but she just indicates that she knows her parents had issues with him, and they were indicating stupid stuff, and we know kind of the level of stupidity that they were talking about in some of the emails that came out of trial. But the bottom line is, they're surprised, and they shouldn't have been surprised if this was something they were planning. And then on top of that, why are they paying $3,000 a month to Catherine McManaman? That makes no sense. And that's why I always said, listen, regardless, we have proof of the payments. We know the money changed hands. Everybody always said, it makes no sense to put a hitman on a payment. Well, that's what they did. That is exactly what happened in this case. And that is a proven fact. So it's what happened. Why did it happen? I'll tell you why it happened, because I think it's exactly what Charlie Adelson said. When this goes down and he realizes that Sigfredo actually off Dan Markel, and then he now understands this guy is dangerous. And in Charlie's mind, he'd rather pay the guy $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, whatever the rent is, to keep himself alive. It made him feel like, I'm cool. And that's why Charlie goes and he's holed up in his house. He's again, remember, yes, it comes out that before the crime, he was installing security cameras. Well, he can't really talk about why he would have been updating his security cameras, which was something that was already being done. Because if he talks about that and he admits this, while he gets acquitted of the actual crime itself, he still can be convicted of conspiracy to kill somebody. Because a conspiracy only requires an idea to occur, an agreement among the parties of the conspiracy, and one act to further it. It does not require it to be completed. So by definition, Donna, Charlie, Harvey, Wendy, all of them can be convicted of conspiracy in the event that you can prove that $5,000 and those guys were sent up with their knowledge. That was a furthering act, and they could all be put in handcuffs and prosecuted. And that would have probably been the better way to go after Wendy and everybody else in this case and get her locked up for it, is for the June conspiracy. But because the state wants to go and say they're all responsible for it, they've got the three figures that were responsible for it. Katie, Sigfredo, and Luis. That's who did it in July. In June is a separate crime. And that's what they should have gone after in this case and prosecuted that part. And it's their actions, what they tried to set up, the information they relayed in June, that ended up allowing July to happen. But they should have done that. That's how this case should have been prosecuted. And that's how Wendy Adelson ends up in handcuffs. So again, to my viewer who says, I think Wendy's involved. I think Wendy's involved to a degree. I think she knew and, or knew, or at least found out about it. And I guess it's potential that Wendy might not, in this case, if the truth is that Wendy stopped this from happening and had no idea it was happening, then the idea is at least Charlie and Donna get charged in this. And it is possible to me that Wendy, might not have been guilty of anything in this case. And that's going to be hard for a lot of people who want to see her in handcuffs because they're like, she had to have done something. And the drive up Trescott that day. Well, we don't know what she heard or when she really found things out or what was going on, but we know there were things, there was rumors. And if she saw police cars, she probably drove up Trescott because she was probably legitimately going to go get that bullet bourbon. And she saw police cars and her stomach dropped. And she was like, oh my God. And the only reason why she doesn't pick the phone up and start calling is because she didn't know what to do at that exact moment. She didn't know how to react. She goes to lunch, she gets dragged in, and then she makes some stupid utterances to the police that ultimately did lead to Charlie Adelson going to prison. Now, Charlie ends up going to prison for more than what I do believe, I'd have to look it up. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I still think life is a possibility for conspiracy. So I think either way, the Adelsons their whole life is turned upside down. They're going to prison. They're not living a comfortable life anymore. They're losing their millions. They're losing their grandchildren. I mean, it's not going to be a good thing for them, even under the theory that I'm posing. But I believe that theory covers the evidence better than the theory that's there and present for state. And I think that's why Rashbaum and company, the only way they see getting Donna out now is going to be furthering the double extortion theory, which says that Donna had no knowledge. Now, Donna's knowledge, again, it's a more difficult case to prove because Donna's knowledge begins, in order to believe whatever story she puts forth, the jury, and that they raised out is they're going to say, okay, what did Donna know the night of, and when did she find out? And it's not as big of a jump like it was for Charlie to say, okay, she finds out 2 weeks or 3 weeks later when she sees these checks going out and says, Charlie, what's going on? And Charlie spins her with a story. Now, did she have an obligation to go to the police at that time? Does that make her part of a conspiracy after the fact to cover up a crime? That's not what she's charged with. But does that make her guilty of being part of a conspiracy to have this thing done? No, it doesn't. So it's a viable defense. And the jury may believe very well that she would have said, oh my God, Charlie, that's a crazy story. She's an older woman. But it just depends. It depends on the jurors that get on there, and it depends on how these jurors interpret these emails that come in and say, does this make sense, or does it make more sense that the fact that they have that text message, which is a damning text message, in my opinion, it's one of the reasons why the jury convicted. And that's because they have that text message that says, we're out front of whatever. And he says 20 minutes. And he tried to say, I was away from the place. I was 20 minutes away. I never saw my mom that night. But GPS puts them right in front of the building. And then, of course, you have the corroborating testimony of Luis Rivera, who says there were stapled 100 stapled bills. They were washed. Now, again, that would mean that, if all of them were stapled, I guess that would take away the potential that they were coming from the mom, unless she, again, we know that apparently there was a safe of money at the office. So it's possible that maybe Mama Adelson was getting money out of the safe at the office or just trying to get as much cash as they had. And then maybe Charlie goes and staples the $100 bills to count them out. I mean, I don't think Katie said that, but I don't think we got the truth from Katie anyways in that trial. But the point is that the theory that I have put forth on this case better explains the evidence. So yes, like I said, videos and things of that nature, that's what this is going to be about. We're going to go in and, this is meant to be an interactive opportunity for us to talk, discuss cases, watch things together. But like I said, what we're going to do, as promised, as I just promised here, we are going to watch the verdict for Adam Montgomery. That's how we're going to end this first inaugural episode. That was the case we followed this week. We are now knee deep into the Hannah Gutierrez trial. And again, as I've said with that case, I do believe so far it's going well for the state. And I think that, let's see here. As a side, I found it interesting they're able to track the money quite successful. You're right. And well, that's one of those corroborating facts that it was a well-known thing that Charlie Adelson stapled his money. So the fact that this guy said all of his money was stapled, now it doesn't mean all the money was stapled. But to me, that's also a potential fact that Donna's defense is going to say, see, again, you got to figure Rashbaum's getting another chance to tighten up the holes. One of the holes was the ridiculousness of the see, there's an idea here. Like I said, one of the things that I found damning was that text message that puts them in front. However, if they can go and show definitively to that jury that there were no unstapled money, then in Donna's case, they're going to put forth, I would say, witnesses that would say, do they have a habit of stapling money, meaning the Adelsons? So would money have come from the Adelsons to her or to Charlie if they were bringing money over that would have been stapled? No, it wouldn't have. So if there's an absence of stapled money, and if Luis Rivera says all my money was stapled, and Katie's testimony, I don't recall specifically if that was a specific question asked, but if she says, hey, yeah, that if her testimony to date was it was all stapled money, which is all meant to tie Charlie in, well, that goes to lend credence that the money that was given to her came out of Charlie's safe. It didn't come from Donna or Harvey, which again is going to lead to reasonable doubt as to whether or not Donna was a contributor, because she has to have contributed money. She has to have done something to have furthered this thing. It can't just be she listened. It can't just be she knew, right? Knowing is not enough to say you're part of a conspiracy. It has to be that she did an act, a furthering act in furtherance of the conspiracy to put her in that position. She has to have done something. And I know the state's theory is she brought money over that night, and then she signed the checks and provided them too. Now, if they can somehow prove that she agreed ahead of time to pay her $3,000 a month for a period of time that we don't know how long that would have been because they all got arrested and the money stopped, then maybe that's the link, right? But there's got to be evidence of it beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's why this case is not going to be open and shut by any means. Now, obviously, the fleeing testimony or the fleeing evidence is going to be troublesome for them. But let's take into account that there are other explanations for the fleeing. And while that can be used to show that there was a consciousness of guilt, that also means that we can also say, well, she was aware that she could be charged. Her son's been convicted. She knows there's kind of this idea among the people out here that, hey, it's like a pitchfork mentality. So she says, we're heading to Vietnam. We're getting the hell out of here. I know at a minimum I'm going to be arrested and I have to go to trial, and there's no way I could sit in those conditions at the jail awaiting trial at 80 years old. Just isn't going to happen. So she flees. Now, doesn't make it right, but it doesn't mean that the reason why she's fleeing is because she's guilty. It might just be because she says, I'm not going to survive in those conditions at the jail at my age to prove my innocence. So again, obviously, Rashbaum and company are going to take care of that argument, I'm sure, in court. He's a good lawyer. I mean, he's a good lawyer. I enjoyed his performance. He's just got a somewhat troublesome, challenging set of facts. He doesn't have the element of surprise. I'll be interested to see what Georgia Cappleman does with this thing, because the state's now going to be prepared for what most likely is going to come in. And the fact that they have hired Rashbaum to do this case again tells us all we know what's coming, right? It's going to be the double extortion defense 2.0. We know that. But the idea here is that it's going to be a lot more difficult to prove, because in my opinion, if you move off of the emotion and you look at it from a purely legal standpoint, the definition of reasonable doubt was met in Charlie Adelson's case. But that jury said, they did their own form of jury nullification, and it happens all the time. They just said, nah, sorry. We don't care, right? Because the idea is, and this is what they didn't follow, and it was what Rashbaum in my opinion, I felt like he didn't hit the points like I hoped he had. He did a good job, but I really just felt like he missed some opportunities there to really hammer some things home, like Georgia Cappleman did. I don't think he connected with that jury enough, because this was a situation where they really needed to trust him. And like my dad has said and told me, one of the keys is it starts at jury selection, right? So I hope this time they throw out the New York jury selecting guy. I don't care how well he was in Tallahassee, small town, small community, much like the community my dad practiced in. People value they value your connection with them. They want to be spoken to and led by you, right? They want you to reach across that jury box, reach in and help them understand the law as you tell them they need to understand it, as you argue to them they should understand it. And to do that, they got to have a connection. And he lost that opportunity by not connecting with those jurors when he selected them. They weren't his jurors. They were selected by someone else. Then he comes in and he's already behind the eight ball. So I hope he takes the time to select a jury. And then in that case, it then emanates from there, right? The opening statement, he needed to really, in my opinion, he should not have unveiled what was happening in the opening statement. He tried the Jose Baez approach like they did in the Casey Anthony case, where to shock the jury and tell. No, he should have just come up and spoke to them about the fact that Charlie Adelson has a presumption of innocence on his side. He's presumed innocent in this courtroom. What that means is that we start this case from that presumption. We don't presume guilt, and there's a tendency to do that, obviously, because, well, you got this whole team of prosecutors sitting over here. You see police officers sitting over there. You see, he's sitting in this courtroom. He's charged. But you can't do that. You can't. You got to ignore all that. And that's what the law calls out for you to do. And as a result, presume him innocent and start everything from that perspective. And when you start from that perspective and you start applying the states and you start looking at the state's evidence as saying, okay, every piece of evidence comes up and you've got to analyze it from a presumption of innocence. So we presume there's an innocent explanation for that evidence. It's the state's job to prove there isn't. And every piece of evidence that gets presented, every exhibit that gets presented, everything that comes into this court, you start out presuming, is there an innocent explanation for this? Is there something that makes you doubt that piece of evidence? And if there is, then you are required to presume innocence. And if at the end of the case, there's even one doubt remaining, one question remaining, one thing that gives you pause, and in Charlie Adelson's case, there was a lot, regardless of what the people out here that are deeply invested in his guilt believe, there was a tremendous amount. And Rashbaum did a great job, and that's why Charlie Adelson was in his jail cell freaking out. But Charlie Adelson learned a hard lesson. There's how it's supposed to work, and there's how it works in the real world. And there's how it works when your attorney comes in flat and they don't connect with them and they don't like you and they just see you there and they say, sorry, we don't like you. We don't like your attorney, and we like Georgia Cappleman, and we're going to go ahead and convict you. And it's probably, like I said, in his case, I think he's definitely guilty of something. So it's not a grave injustice like it is to put Tyrone Tucker in prison, who's guilty of nothing. So for me, it's not like I'm sitting here worried or losing sleep at night like I am about the potential that Tyrone Tucker could end up going into the Florida penitentiary system for a crime he didn't commit. And I believe that. I've looked into the case and dug deep into it. Spent a lot of, my wife, is upset with me for the amount of time I've spent looking into things and staying up late, digging into his case, because it's just shocking. It's very shocking when you start getting into it. But Charlie Adelson's case, I ain't losing sleep over. I mean, he's there. It's just he might not be there for the right crime. Now, to me, from a fundamental standpoint of viewing justice, it's important to me that the justice process works correctly and that we get you there for the right crime. And if you're there for the wrong crime, that deserves to be addressed on appeal. And he's got a really good appellate attorney that's working on his appeal. I think, If there's something there to be found, he's going to find it. He'll get and maybe we'll be back having another Charlie Adelson round 2, which is great for me because I love watching trials and watching stuff like this develop. And it'll be great for the cottage industry that's developed around the Adelsons, who have made their names reporting on that case. But to me, like I said, I believe they're guilty of something. I just don't think necessarily that we have it right. And these things that stand out to me, they've stood out to others. They stood out in the book I read about this case. These are the unanswered things. And I think when you apply the theory I have, it covers them, not fully, but we're never going to fully know. You're never going to have 100% knowledge, because we weren't there. We weren't there. So with that said, guys, let's jump into and we're going to end the evening. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you, Dolores, coming in and talking and interacting. Exactly what I was hoping for. Hopefully, anybody else out there that has a thought or a question, please put it in the chat. That's what we're here for. That's what this is about. Like I said, I'd rather sit here and talk than watch. But I want to show this here because this was our case that we're following. Like I said, we're following the Gutierrez trial, so this will be one of the things we'll do. We're throw a relevant clip up of a case that we're following. That's correct. So, anyways, let's jump in here real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. And also,
please rise.
Attributing Court TV.
Mr. Foreperson, it's the court's understanding that the jury has reached a verdict in this matter.
That's correct.
As to charge ID 1937947C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of second-degree assault, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That is correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
As to charge ID 2027112C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of second-degree murder, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That is correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And as to charge ID 2027113C, charging the defendant with the crime of falsifying physical evidence, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And on charge ID 2027114C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of abuse of corpse, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And on charge ID 2027115C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of tampering with witnesses and informants, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Adam Montgomery found guilty all charges, and this is a case that, to me, I feel the jury absolutely got it right. Now, there were a lot of people that were surprised by this right here: 6 hours, 44 minutes of deliberations. I was not surprised by that because, as I said from the beginning, this is a good thing, right? Many people would say, "Oh, I wanted it to be quick." No. It means the jury gave thoughtful consideration where they needed to. It means they truly deliberated, and I am proud of them for doing that. Now, I am also proud of them for coming to what I think was a correct verdict, supported by the evidence. I always said there was a deep, dark, black hole in the middle of this case, and that was at the actual point of death, right? No question, he was an abusive dad, in my opinion. No question, he did hideous, terrible things after the fact, and he definitely wasn't a responsible parent. But there was definitely potential doubt, a potential problem, which is why the state spent 10 days proving their case and in presenting evidence in that middle point, and that was at the point of death. And because of their witness, Kayla Montgomery, she wasn't a strong witness in a lot of respects, but she got the job done. But the bottom line was, as I've said with this case, my takeaway from this case was, and I think the jury got it right, and I think that questions were raised, but ultimately my ultimate takeaway here was, listen, while the state didn't have the ability to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did the crime at that moment, she wasn't necessarily majorly credible. However, the reason why they didn't know who did what, the reason why they couldn't say who did what, is because he destroyed the body. And unlike the case that I followed very early on, I didn't follow it like on a daily basis, but I was watching it daily, and I put out a couple videos about it. It was a mother down in Georgia who left her son's body in the woods. And in that case, I felt like the jury got it right, right? They found her not guilty. And one of the things the state was saying was like, well, she shouldn't benefit from the fact that she left that body in the woods. However, in that case, it was slightly different. She didn't do the hideous things that this gentleman did. She left his body behind, and as terrible as that was, there was potential there, as they raised, that he could have died from hypothermia. He could have died from various different things that were going on, and as a result, there was a lot of reasonable doubt as to what was happening here. There was definitely not the evidence to the degree that there was in this case of what she did after the fact, or of what he did after the fact. The evilness of what he did, carrying that body around for 2 months for a child, I could not even imagine it. I could not even imagine. I'm a father myself, and I could not imagine. It's unimaginable. It's unimaginable for any stretch of the imagination. To me, the jury is allowed to infer, by the fact that he did what he did with that body, they can infer that his guilt from that. They're allowed to do that. That is not allowed. The destruction of the evidence is not allowed to be used as a piece of doubt, right? He can't destroy a body and then say, well, now I get the benefit of that. So because they could do that, to me, that overcame the doubt that surrounded it, because the fact that he was willing to do that told me that he must have done something heinous to be willing to do that. And my opinion was Kayla Montgomery was a victim, a battered woman. So, yes, did she necessarily say everything that was 100% correct? No. Do I think that he did it at the time she did it? No. I think it was done. I think he went too far, and I don't know that it was in the middle of the intersection, but I think she was already gone when they went to the methadone clinic. I think it happened sometime dating that, and I think that he was responsible for it, one way or another. I think he was an abusive guy. There was a lot of evidence showing that she was a victim of his abuse, and I think that I think in the end, the jury got this 110% correct, and I have no problem with it. With them convicting in this case under the circumstances, the evidence after what I watched. It's a hard case to watch, especially as a parent myself, who I love my children very much, and I cannot even imagine doing the things that were done in this case. To that young lady, to that young girl. It was hideous. It was terrible. But sometimes things happen like that. It's terrible. It really is. So with that said, guys, we ended on that note. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the show, what you caught of it. I know I've seen people popping in and out. If you pop in, please say hi in the chat. This is meant to be interactive. Pop in, say hi, ask a question. Dolores, I appreciate you carrying the chat tonight. I hope you'll be back, but I hope also we'll get some other interaction from other people jumping in, sharing their thoughts, sharing their topics. That's what this is about. That's what we want to do here. That's what Justice Watch Live is about, and we're going to go out and watch justice. The premise of this show, of this channel, is that we watch the justice process. And my idea, my hope is to connect with other people watching around the country. So if you know of trials, if you know of opportunities, send them to my email box, justiceisaprocess@gmail.com. Also, just launched a TikTok channel as well. So if you're on TikTok, check it out. I'm going to be posting some of my shorts and stuff over there to try to get some more establishment. Again, what I want, the goal of this is to get eyes and ears on things. And the reason why I clip things, the reason why I clip shorts out is these are clips and highlights that I want to show you what's going on. So I hope you're going to do the same thing. The more we do it, the better, because we want to bring attention to things happening in courtrooms around the country that need our attention, right? And as I says, justice works better when we watch it. It's true. That's what my dad always said. That's what I believe, and that's where this emanated from an idea of thinking, you know what, I want to go in and start watching. And I know from having been around this, from having been, again, there was a period of time where I was going to become a lawyer and I went a different direction for various reasons. And I'll get into that story on the channel. I'll get into the story of my dad. It's quite an interesting story, but there's a lot I know, a lot I've been through. And I understand there's a need. There's a need out here because there's also a lot of good people out here that want to do things right. And then there's people out here that don't do the right thing and they're on both sides of the law. There's not just the criminals out there, but it's our job to watch. It's our job to report. It's our job to make aware. It's our job to bring attention. It's the goal of this channel. And yes, please check it out. Like I said, I've got 10 full days of trial. I'm changing the format to bring it into for the daily trial watch. I kind of had it up on like a little TV like we had there, and I'm going to kind of make it so that it's more of a immersive deal for trial watching. But yeah, check it out. I've got all of it there, and I've even got it in fast forward format. So as I played catch up, and then I have in and out analysis throughout. Of course, also law and crime, court TV covered it, as you can see. Check it out. It's a tough one to watch. I'll warn you. It's going to trigger you emotionally when you hear some of this stuff. I know it did me. You know, and you're probably have to take some breaks as you watch it and get through it. But so anyways, like I said, so goal is we'll be back tomorrow 9 p.m. Eastern time is the goal. I might pop up for afternoon times if something comes up. If something comes in, we might throw an episode in. But the goal is to go live at 9 o'clock. We're going to watch trials during the day, take a little break, handle things, practices with the kids, different various things that I got going on. And the goal is to try to connect at 9 o'clock, have a place here, come in, relax, watch some justice, talk some trials, talk about things going on, talk about things. So please send me things that you want to see broadcast on here or you want to talk about. So if you happen to run into this show or you're just popping in now, send me something that you want up here to talk about, and I'll bring it up. I've got a clip tomorrow that we're going to be talking about, the Tucker case. Vinny Politan absolutely takes down the prosecutor, sent to me by a viewer. I had no idea this existed. I totally missed the broadcast, and you can't find it on YouTube, at least not that I could find. I have the clip. I'm going to be playing it tomorrow. That's going to be a centerpiece, and we're going to be talking about that. And then there's some other things we'll watch too. I've got some more body cam footage of some stops and things we're going to watch. And I'm always continuing to watch and put things in my playlist so that I'm ready to go. I'll be ready to go when we do the Justice Watch Live, and then bring your questions, bring your stuff. Let's talk. If you want to talk about the Tucker case. I plan on hopefully getting Mr. Tucker up here and making him maybe the first person we're putting the. I've got a little. I'll show it to you guys. It's the interrogation room. So I'm looking to put a suspect over there. Even a viewer can get in there, and you're going to get read. And of course, you're going to get Mirandized. And there's the Miranda rights. When you're in an interrogation room, you have the right to remain silent and can assert that right at any time. Anything you say can and will be used on YouTube, and you have a right to an attorney and can assert that right at any time. And by the way, if you assert your right to an attorney, that means you're just asking to end the interview. But if you survive that without asserting your rights, and we're going to respect your rights. So if you assert your rights, you in the Justice is a Process interrogation room, we will stop questioning right away, and we will always respect your rights. And of course, but Mr. Tucker hopefully maybe can be over here answering the questions, and every question is asked by myself and the chat. Whenever we get someone up here, my wife is actually she's a nurse, psych nurse. So I've already talked with her. She's agreed to come up and maybe sit over here in the box and answer some questions. Especially, I think she would be helpful to talk about some psychology aspects. She deals, especially like things like the Crumley case that's coming up. she's she can add some insight because she would be exactly where they would have brought Ethan Crumley, right? What could have been done? How much could have actually been done by the Crumley parents, like the prosecutors are saying? She can speak to that. So this is where we're gonna be doing it, 9:00, having fun. And if you're interested in coming up, hit me up in the email. We're have to talk. I want to know, who you are a little bit at least. I don't want somebody coming up here getting crazy, but like I said, it's open to viewers. That we're put you in an interrogation room and we're pick your brain, ask you questions, see how you feel about cases, see if you bring something you want to talk. Can you survive without asserting your rights in the justice of the process interrogation room? And it'll be the place to go. So that is some things to look forward to, some fun to have, and that's where we'll leave it, guys. So tomorrow, 9:00, I'll be back to talk to you, see you, and hopefully commiserate. Come with your questions. You plead the fifth. There you go. Hey, and we will respect that. We will respect that. 100%. We respect all rights around here. So no problem with that. No problem with that. But so yeah, come ready tomorrow. Like I said, I'll see you then. And yes, and nice to meet you as well, Dolores. I appreciate you. Like I said, I appreciate you carrying the chat tonight. I appreciate you chatting back. Everybody else that's watching out there who hasn't said hi, and that's everybody else that came in. I appreciate you as well. But next time when you come in, say hello, drop a line, introduce yourself to everybody, and let's have a conversation. Let's have some fun, and let's talk about the justice system. So with that said, guys, I'm going to head off to bed, I think, and we'll be back tomorrow at 9:00. And we'll go from there.